Are y'all doing beautiful? All right, we almost up and running, right? It's been a beautiful day so far. By the way, y'all. It's been a beautiful day so far, y'all. Let me check YouTube. All right, cool. We are good to go. We are absolutely good to go. All right. So, what we are going to do is we are going to talk about desire in every way that I could imagine. In every single way that I can imagine, we're going to talk about desire. So, we're going to talk about what does desire mean? We are going to talk about, I think something messed up with TikTok already. No, should be good. I don't know. If y'all can't see it, just fuck it. It's on YouTube, so we'll be good. All right. So the Desire Masterclass, we are going to walk through desire A through Z. We're going to talk about what happens before the desire shows up. What even is a desire? Is a desire a thought? Is it an emotion? What is it? We're going to talk about when you receive the desire, how to accept it. We're going to talk about desire being guaranteed. We're going to talk about the bridge of incidents. We're going to talk about time. Some of y'all will say, well, it's taking 3 months, 3 days, 3 years. When is it going to come, right? We're going to talk about that. And we're going to talk about a lot of different things in between. So this one should be one that you probably bookmark, save, and watch about 3 times. All right, let's get right into it. Let's get right into this, okay? So we're going to start with an adoration. Matter of fact, I'm going to skip that adoration. We're going to come back to that. I want to get right into this, all right? I want you to travel back in time with me right now, all right? I want you to think about your specific person. I want you to think about your dream career. I want you to think about the business that you want to build. I want you to think about financial freedom or healing or purpose. Now, there was a moment before any of those things entered your awareness. Do you remember that? Do you remember the time before you wanted this person, or before you wanted that car, or that house, or that money? Do you remember that? Okay. There was a time before it entered your awareness, 5 minutes before, 1 day before, 1 year before. During that time, did you feel, answer this question honestly, did you feel incomplete because you didn't yet desire them? No. No, you didn't, right? Because the experience of lack had not yet been created. Now let's ask ourselves something else. Where was your desire? Before you became aware of wanting this person, before you ever knew them, where was that desire? Okay? Did it suddenly come into existence? Did God manufacture it? Did the universe create it on demand, or did awareness simply notice something that has always existed? That is the mystery this entire lecture seeks to answer. Because if your desire already existed before you became aware of it, then maybe manifestation ain't creation. Maybe manifestation is actually revelation. Okay? Perhaps. All right? So let's get into this. What is a desire? First and foremost, what is a desire, right? Most people have never actually investigated desire. If it ain't showing, it is what it is. It'll be on YouTube, so we cool. All right. Most people have never actually investigated desire. Okay? They assume they know what it is, right? We think that desire is a feeling, right? We'll say, well, you really want the feeling of it. You really want the feeling of being happy with that person. Perhaps, right? Think it's an emotion. They think it's a thought. an attraction, right? Or a biological impulse. But notice something, right? Thoughts change, emotions change, chemical reactions change, yet some desires remain for years. Why? Right? I'll go live on TikTok on my phone. We'll do the phone thing. One moment, y'all. One moment, y'all. Even though I do appreciate the YouTube revenue. I appreciate the YouTube ad revenue, but we'll put it on TikTok for ease of use. All right, here we go. Cool. So now, what is a desire? Okay, what is a desire? So a genuine desire isn't a passing mental event. A desire is consciousness becoming aware of one of its own infinite possibilities, right? You don't have desires. Consciousness recognizes itself through those desires. All right, so let's go a little bit further. I'm going to come back to this, but we're going to go a little bit further, all right? Now, I want you to run through this technique with me so we can actually talk through desires, all right? Run through this technique with me. Now, I want you to forget everything that you've been taught about desires. Everything that we have learned about desires, just put it to the side for a second. All right, forget manifestation, forget techniques, forget alignment, forget whether you have been doing it right. Forget the future. Forget physical manifestation, forget when, all right? Now, I want you to just sit with the desire right now. Think about something that you desire. Think about that person. Think about that money. Think about that car. Just think about it right now. Think about your desire. Okay, maybe it's a person. Maybe it's money. Maybe it's a home or a career or healing or freedom. Maybe your desire is a version of yourself that feels so natural and so beautiful and so true that you cannot explain why you want it. So just think about your desire. Just become aware of your desire. Not to try to get anything, just, all right, cool. Now, what is it? What is this desire? Is the desire the image in your mind? Is the desire the image in your mind? No. Right? The image changes. If right now you become aware of your desire, the image of the desire changes, right? Sometimes you see the desire clearly. Sometimes you don't see anything at all. But the desire still remains, right? So the desire isn't the actual image. So you putting this image in your mind does not make the desire appear, right? Okay, cool. Let's go further, right? So is the desire the emotion that you feel? Nah, it's not. Right? Because emotions move. Some days the desire makes you feel excited, right? Some days the desire makes you feel afraid or nervous. Some days the desire makes you feel peaceful, right? Right? Some days it feels peaceful. Some days the desire makes you feel nothing. So the desire isn't the emotion, because if the emotion goes away and the desire is still there, that means the desire isn't just the emotion, right? Is the desire the excitement to have it? No. Excitement rises and falls. Sometimes you feel excited about it, sometimes you don't. Sometimes you feel nervous about it, right? If excitement were the desire, then the desire would disappear every time you became tired, right? But it doesn't. Is the desire the words that you use to describe it, right? Because sometimes we'll say, well, if you want this desire and you want to affirm for it, then you have to say that you have it now. And you have to explain it specifically. Is the desire the words that you use to describe it? No. Whether you can articulate it clearly or not, the desire is still there, right? The words are just labels. You can call the desire love or wealth or purpose or marriage or success, but the words are not the thing itself. Right? The words are not the thing itself. The words arrive when? After recognition. Here we go, okay? Hear what I'm saying. So the words, the emotions, the thoughts, all the images, all of these things arrive after recognition. So let's keep stripping everything away, right? Just keep imagining your desire. Keep imagining your desire. Keep your desire in the awareness. Let's strip everything away. Remove the image of the desire. It's still there. Remove the emotion, the excitement, the language, the story. You remove all of these things, and what is actually left? What is your desire? Should say awareness, right? Awareness of something. What is this something? Awareness of a desire, awareness of something. What is this something? It is awareness of possibility, right? Your desire is simply awareness of a possibility. If we broke it down to the simplest terms, it's awareness of a possibility. That is the beginning of where we're going to go from here, right? You're walking through life and you did not wake up that morning and say, you know what, today I'm going to meet a woman named and I'm going to fall in love and then I'm going to want to be with her forever. You didn't decide that. You didn't decide that. You woke up and life flowed through you. You experienced things and then you became aware of a possibility and you called it a desire. Right? So before you called it a dream, to be rich, to be with that person, to have that car, before you called it a dream, awareness noticed it. You just became aware of a possibility. Before you called it a goal, right? Awareness noticed it. Before you called it your manifestation, before you started looking at YouTube videos on how to manifest, right? Awareness noticed it. Before the mind even jumped in and said, I want it, awareness had already became aware of it, right? So perhaps desire isn't a need. Desire is not a need. Desire is not lack. Desire is not evidence that something is missing. Desire is just, when we look at it, how we're going to start this, right? So the base layer that we're starting this from is desire is simply awareness becoming aware of possibility. Now, we've got to slow down from there, okay? So your desire is just awareness becoming aware of possibility. It sounds very simple, right? It sounds very simple. Okay, yeah, of course. It's awareness becoming aware of a possibility. I could be with her. I could have that car. I could have this money, all right? But what does this change? When I just look at it and I say, okay, well, my desire is simply awareness being aware of possibility. What changes? Well, if desire is awareness becoming aware of possibility, then we have to ask the fundamental question, what does it mean for awareness to become aware of anything? Right? And absolutely, we're talking about that second, that split moment. You become aware of a possibility before the mind comes and pollutes it. You just become aware or you recognize a possibility. But what does it mean for awareness to become aware of anything? This is an important question because now we're going to get into the nature of desire. Can awareness become aware of absolute nothing? Think. Can awareness become aware of absolute nothing? Think. All right, let me ask the second question, just to follow up, because you might be like, I don't know, right? Can awareness recognize something that has no existence whatsoever? Can awareness recognize something that has no existence whatsoever? Think. Right? Let me ask a different question. Let me ask a different question. When you recognize someone across a crowded room, did your recognition create that person? Stay with your boy. When you recognize someone from across a crowded room, when you recognize someone across a crowded room, did your recognition create that person? No. No. The recognition is possible because there was already something there to recognize. Okay. All right. So your desire is simply the awareness within you becoming aware of a new possibility. Becoming aware of a possibility. That's it. But now we're saying, okay, well, how can I be aware? Hold up. How can I be aware? Well, you can't be aware of something that does not exist. Right? The recognition is possible because there was already something there to recognize. Now, when you hear a familiar voice behind you, did hearing it create the speaker? No. I'm just walking through the store, right? When you were a kid, you're walking through the store with your mom, and then you walk down the wrong aisle. She went down one aisle, you went down the left, the wrong aisle, right? Then all of a sudden, you hear her yell your fucking name, Alexander. Fuck. Right? Her yelling my name did not actually create her. Right? The voice was already present. My awareness just noticed it. When you remember something, okay? When you remember something, the memory points toward an experience, an impression, a reality once known, all right? So this is the definition that we're getting to, is the definition of recognition, all right? Recognition doesn't create its object. You recognizing your desire, becoming aware of this possibility, doesn't create the object. Recognition simply reveals its object. When I hear that voice, hey, Alex, Dwayne, boom, I'm simply recognizing something that already exists. I know you feel me. Okay, I know you feel me. So let's apply this same logic to desire. Can consciousness genuinely recognize a possibility that has no existence within consciousness at all? Can consciousness genuinely recognize a possibility that has no existence within consciousness at all? How could it? How could it? If a possibility appears within awareness, then at the very least, it exists as a possibility within awareness. It may not yet be visible physically. It may not yet have a date. Y'all keep up. It may not yet have a date. Keep up. It may not yet have a sequence of events attached to it, but it has entered consciousness. And the moment it enters consciousness, it is no longer nothing. It is known. It is no longer nothing. It is known. It is present. It is recognized. The moment it enters your consciousness, it is present. It is recognized. It is there. It exists. It is possible. All right. So now this is where the paradigm begins to break. All right. Because what we have been taught, okay, what have we been taught? To treat desires as evidence of absence. We say, I want it because I don't have it. I want it because I don't have it. But what if that interpretation comes too late? What do I mean by that? That interpretation comes too late. All right, cool. Hear me out. Hear your boy out, right? We're going to be here for a while. We're going to be here for a little while. All right. Now, you become aware of the desire, right? You recognize the desire. So the moment that you have the recognition, boom, the desire is there. It's within you. It's there. You recognize this possibility right now. Boom. That's all that happens. What happens after the recognition? What happens after the recognition? Then we say, I want it because I don't have it, right? The desire itself didn't say that. The recognition that you had, the awareness that you had of being with that person or having that money or having that car or having that health, it didn't say. It did not speak to you and give you a disclaimer and say, hey, guess what? Guess what, bitch ass? You ain't got it. It ain't say that. It simply showed up. What if the desire only appeared? Okay. What if the desire only appeared? What if awareness only recognized? And then what happened? The mind arrived afterward and translated recognition into lack. So lack is simply a translation of recognition. Lack is just a translation of recognition. Recognition is you became aware of it. It entered your awareness. You became aware of a possibility. But now guess what? The translation of the mind comes in and says, we ain't got it. We ain't got it, right? So what if the original experience was not, I'm missing something. The original experience was not, I'm missing something. The original experience was simply there. A possibility, a reality, a state, a version of life there. And only afterward did the mind say, but not here. Only afterward did the mind say, but not yet. Only afterward did the mind say, but how? Only afterward did the mind say, but why would this be mine? The desire does not create separation. Your desire don't create separation. Interpretation did. The desire didn't say you're incomplete. The mind said that. The desire didn't say you were unworthy. The mind said that. The desire simply appeared. And when the desire simply appeared, guess what? It was silent. It was whole. It was complete before the mind ever touched it. That is why desire is absolutely innocent. The desire has never harmed you. It's never rejected you. It's never made you wait. It has never told you that you are behind. The desires never looked at your circumstances and changed its mind, right? The desire never showed up and was like, whoa, hold up. Hell no, you got a lot going on with your ugly ass. Let me get the fuck out of here. The desire's never done that. It didn't show up in your awareness and then change its mind. Oh shit, I don't know what you got going on here. Let me get the fuck up out of here. Right? That is it. Cool. So the desire itself never contained distance. It only contained recognition. Now, let's go a little bit deeper. Okay? Let's go a little bit deeper, right? So now, most people believe that desires begin. Desires begin. They say, all right, yesterday, I suddenly started wanting this. Yesterday, I suddenly started wanting this. But did the desire begin yesterday? Or did you simply notice it yesterday? Did the desire begin yesterday, or did you simply notice it yesterday? Think about a radio. A song is already being broadcast, right? Song's already being broadcast. You turn the radio on, and then suddenly music fills the car. Suddenly, music fills the room. Did the song begin when you turned the radio on? No. No. The song didn't begin when you turned the radio on. The transmission was already occurring. The radio didn't create the music. It tuned into it. Perhaps desire works the same way. Perhaps it works the same way. Perhaps the desire didn't begin when you noticed it. Perhaps consciousness turned it into a possibility that was already available within itself. This is different. This is different because now the desire is not a new problem. It's just new awareness. You're just aware of a new possibility. You didn't create the state. You became conscious of it. You didn't create the possibility. You tuned into it. Ah, right? You notice that version. And once something is noticed, it cannot honestly be called non-existent. When you know, it cannot be called non-existent, not honestly. Once you notice it, it exists. It is real. It is truth. Beautiful. It may be unseen, it may be unexpressed, it may be unembodied, but it is not non-existent. It exists as a known possibility within consciousness. This is why desire is not merely emotional. We tend to reduce desire to intensity, don't we? We think the stronger the feeling, the more real the desire, but intensity is not the essence of desire. Desire is simply informational. It tells you something. A compass doesn't create north. It reveals direction. A map doesn't create the destination. It reveals relationship. A lighthouse doesn't create the shore. It reveals where land already is. Desire functions the same way. Desire is information from consciousness about what consciousness already contains. It is not begging you to produce something from nothing. It is informing you of what is possible. It says, this exists within me. This is available within me. This is one way I can know myself. This is one form I can take. This is one room within the infinite mansion. This is why suppressing desires don't create peace. Ignoring a compass does not change north. Throwing away the map does not erase the destination. Closing your eyes doesn't destroy the lighthouse. You can refuse the information. You can resist it. You can judge it. You can call it unrealistic. You can call it impossible. You may decide you're too old. You might decide you're too young. You might decide it's too late. You might decide you're too damaged, too unworthy. But none of those interpretations alter what was revealed. The desire still appeared. Information was still given. So why would consciousness reveal one possibility instead of another? Why this person? Why this life? Why this calling? Why this level of prosperity, right? You know, some people want the penthouse. Some people just want the farm. I say just want the farm, but a farm costs bread too, right? Why this exact expression? Maybe because desire is not only information, right? It's not only information, it is also invitation. Every genuine desire contains an invitation. It says, come and see. It doesn't say come and earn, or come and prove yourself, or come and suffer until you deserve it. It simply says, come and see. See what's possible. See what consciousness has been willing to reveal through your point of view. See another version of yourself. See another expression of life. See another form of love. See another expression of yourself. I already said that, right? The desire doesn't arrive as a demand. It arrives as an introduction to possibility, an introduction to a state that has always existed within you, right? This is why some desires feel absolutely familiar. Don't worry, we're going to get to a point. Some desires feel absolutely familiar. You've never lived them physically, but something about them feels like home. You've never met that version of yourself in the world, but when you imagine them, you don't feel as though you're meeting a stranger. You feel as though you're remembering. Why? 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 Because the deepest desires aren't fantasies about becoming someone else. They're recognitions of who you already are at another level of consciousness. Fantasy can entertain, right? Fantasy can entertain. Fantasy can distract. Fantasy can change by the hour, but recognition has weight. Recognition follows you. Recognition returns after you've tried to bury it. Recognition survives disappointment. I need y'all to hear what I'm saying. I need you to hear what I'm saying. Recognition survives disappointment. Recognition survives fear. Recognition survives years. You may walk away from it. You may tell yourself to become realistic. You may convince yourself that you no longer care. And then, in a moment, it returns. Because truth is persistent. The possibility hasn't stopped existing simply because you stopped looking at it, right? Hear what I'm saying. The possibility hasn't stopped existing simply because you stopped looking at it. The room remains in the mansion even while the door is closed. The station continues broadcasting even while the radio is off. The shore remains even when the lighthouse is hidden by fog. This is why desire is recognition before identity. The desire appears first, then the identity reacts. Awareness says there is love. Identity says, but I am alone. Awareness says there is abundance. Identity says, but I'm broke. Awareness says there is success. Identity says, but I have failed before. Awareness says there is healing. Identity says, but look at the body. Do you see the sequence? Do you see the sequence? Recognition is first. Interpretation is second. Recognition is first. It's first. Interpretation is second. The desire appears before the argument. Possibility appears before limitation. Truth appears before the mind calls it impossible. That fucking matters. It matters because we spent our lives trying to fix desire when desire is not the problem. We thought desire caused pain. Nah. Desire don't cause pain. Desire reveals possibility. Identification created pain. Identification created pain. The pain came from being shown one state while continuing to identify as its opposite. You recognized love but called yourself rejected. You recognized wealth but called yourself poor. You recognized freedom but called yourself trapped. You recognized these truths that exist within you and still chose to call yourself the opposite. That is why you suffer. That is why you're in pain. That is why you cry. That is why. You recognize fulfillment, which only can exist. Because you're aware of it, it must exist within you. You recognize fulfillment, but called yourself incomplete. There's no tension between you and the desire. The tension is between identification and recognition. Identification and recognition. One part of consciousness was saying this is available. Another part was saying this is not me. That contradiction is what hurts. Is what hurts, right? So now, do I want to go through the rest of this? Yes, I do. All right. One part of consciousness was saying this is available. Another part was saying this is not me. The desire is innocent. The desire only reveals. It doesn't accuse. It doesn't withhold. It doesn't bargain. It doesn't ask whether you've been good enough. The desire doesn't check your circumstances. It doesn't check your emotions. It doesn't check your thoughts. A lot of you, when you received the desire, you were in absolute chaos in your life. And you received the desire. It did not check your circumstances. You were an exact match for the desire when you received it. When you received it. The desire, it doesn't accuse, it doesn't withhold, it does not bargain. It doesn't ask whether you've healed enough. It doesn't ask whether you've affirmed enough. It simply enters awareness, and that entrance is the sacred moment. That entrance is sacred because the moment a desire appears, eternity has entered your experience of time. Eternity has entered your experience of time. Think about that. Before the desire, your life seemed to be moving in a specific direction. Then suddenly, something beyond your current circumstances appeared within you. You were within this circumstance. You're sitting in this circumstance. Your life seemed to be going one way, and then the desire appeared. Nah, we worth a lot more than this. A possibility. A possibility showed up, right? A life not yet visible. A version of you not yet reflected. A possibility not yet confirmed. Where did it come from? Where did it come from? You ain't even choose it. Where did it come from? It was not given to you by the evidence of your life. It was not given to you by the evidence. The evidence may have contradicted it even. It wasn't given to you by your past. Your past may have argued against it. Your past may have argued against it, right? It wasn't given to you by your current identity. Oh my gosh, do you see where I'm going? It wasn't even given to you by your current identity. Your current identity may have felt unworthy for it, but it still appeared. It still appeared. Something eternal broke into the timeline, just popped in. Bop, here I am. Okay? A possibility larger than your history introduced itself within where? The present moment. That is why we could say a desire is the first moment. Eternity introduces itself into time. All right? Boom. This moment, this recognition of possibility, this recognition of eternity that presents itself to you right here in this beautiful present moment. It is the timeless appearing in the temporary. It is the infinite appearing inside the personal. It is consciousness whispering through the limitations of a human story. Your desire is consciousness. It is the God within you whispering to you, trying to seduce you while you are within the limitations of a human story, saying, whoa, 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 you're more. Look at this possibility. Look at this possibility. There is more of me here. There is more of you here. And maybe that's not even the deepest definition. Perhaps a desire is consciousness recognizing one of its own eternal possibilities before the mind has a chance to call it impossible. Before fear says no, before history says no, before circumstances say no, before logic says no, before identity says that can never be me. Consciousness says yes. You were given the desire before you learned how to manifest. It showed up before you tried to affirm or visualize. It showed up before. All right? So, before the identity says that can never be me, consciousness says yes. The desire is the yes. Your desire is the guarantee. It is given to you from consciousness, from God, saying, hold on, whoa, 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 whoa. Hey. Check this out. This is what I want to experience through you. The desire is the original yes before the character, right? I know y'all love that word. Before the character begins its negotiation. Or the mind, or the whatever you want to call it. The mind, the ego, the little voice in your head, whatever it is. Before you start to argue and say, this is not me, this is not possible, your desire is the yes. It is reality introducing you to a version of yourself that has always existed, but has only just become recognized. That may be the most complete definition of a desire. A desire is reality introducing you to a version of yourself that has always existed, but has only just become recognized. Not created, recognized, not earned, revealed, not distant, introduced. And now the entire journey changes, because if desire is recognition, then you did not choose it. You didn't choose it. If you didn't choose it, then the separate self is not its author. And your mind is not the author of desires. The mind is not the author of desires. If the separate self, if the mind, if the ego is not its author, then the desire must arise from something deeper than personal will. Oh my goodness. Are you following me? Are you following your boy? Come on, just follow me a little bit further, all right? The desire must arrive from something deeper than personal will. If it arises from consciousness itself, then the state must already exist within consciousness. If the state already exists within consciousness, then the desire isn't asking you to create it. It's simply asking you to recognize yourself as it. And if the desire is recognition of an already existing state, then its guarantee is not based on your perfect thoughts. If the desire is recognition of an already existing state, then its guarantee is not based on your emotional consistency. It's not based on your ability to remain positive. It's not based on your performance. Its guarantee is contained where? Where is its guarantee? Its guarantee is contained within its appearance. The desire contains its guarantee within its appearance. Within its appearance, the desire appeared because the possibility exists. The possibility became known because consciousness contains it. The desire was the evidence before the physical evidence. The recognition was the manifestation before the manifestation. And everything that follows is simply the unfolding of what was already revealed. Everything after this desire shows up within your awareness is just the unfolding of what was already revealed. This is why desire is not the beginning of creation. Desire is the beginning of recognition. Desire is the beginning of recognition. Desire is guaranteed. It's the beginning of recognition. Now we finna dive in this hoe, right? Now we finna dive in this hoe. All right, so part 3, the moment everything changed. Here's the moment that everything changed, okay? One ordinary day you saw them. You heard an idea. You imagined a life. You felt a calling. You suddenly knew, I want that. I want them. I want that, right? But let's be honest. Did you choose it? Did you choose it? Did you wake up today and deliberately decide, you know what? I think today I'm going to go outside. I'm going to meet this person and I'm going to desire that person to be my wife or be my husband. Did you choose that? Okay. Did you say, you know what? I think today I'm going to walk outside and I'm going to see a car I've never seen, or I'm going to hear a number, or I'm going to be introduced to a possibility, and all of a sudden I'm going to want to become a millionaire. No, you didn't choose the desire. They appeared, right? It appeared unexpectedly, almost like it introduced itself, right? This is the first miracle. This is the first miracle. Desire appears before any part of you has time to analyze it. Desire shows up before you have the time, the opportunity, the chance, the mind, the ego, whatever you want to call it, has the opportunity to analyze it. Recognition always arrives before interpretation. First scripture of the day, all right? Ecclesiastes 3:11, it says, he has made everything beautiful in its time. He has also set eternity in the human heart. In the human heart. What does that mean? What does the human heart represent? What does the human heart represent, right? It represents knowing, right? As a man thinketh in his heart. In his heart. As a man thinketh in his heart. So you see how scripture references the heart as this place of knowing, the seat of the soul. Let's think of the soul as everything. It's infinity, right? So this is basically saying he has also set eternity in the human heart, meaning whatever you know already exists as a possibility within your heart. Therefore, all you have to do is accept it. All right, let's go a little bit further, all right? So now, when we say this, right, he has made everything beautiful in its time, sometimes people can interpret that to mean what it don't mean. It can sound like it's saying, well, God has the perfect time for everything. And we're going to break down time too in this. We're going to break down time too. And for anybody on TikTok, we probably only got like 15% battery. If it dies, y'all better jump y'all ass to YouTube. The link is in the bio. All right. But this is what it sounds like. It sounds like it's saying God has his perfect timing for everything. While this perhaps could be true, depending on how you want to think about that, right? There is something a little bit more profound within this. I want you to notice what it says, all right? He has set eternity in the human heart. Now, this kind of contradicts the literalist view of the Bible, right? Eternity is not something waiting for you after death, right? Eternity ain't waiting for you after death. Eternity has been placed within you now. That means the infinite, every possibility, every state, every reality already lives within the finite, within you, within your experience. So infinity lives within your experience within this moment, your experience within this story. So you might think, oh yeah, I'm Alice. I work at this place. I do this. I make this much. I'm limited by this. That's just a story. That's one human story that you're experiencing. But infinity, all possibilities, all states still exist within this story, within you. Okay? So the timeless already dwells within time. Every possibility, every state, every expression of life, everything exists within the consciousness hearing these words. So when a desire suddenly appears within you, it's not a random thought at all. We talked about desire earlier. It's not a thought at all. It's not a thought. Your desire exists without thoughts. It exists without emotions. It exists even without a mental image of it. It's something different. Your desire is an awareness of a possibility. It's recognition of possibility. Okay? Perhaps it is eternity becoming aware of itself through your unique point of view. So eternity or consciousness becomes aware of itself, of a new possibility through your unique point of view. The desire isn't asking to be created because eternity cannot create what it does not already contain. Instead, the desire is introducing you to something that already exists within the infinite that has been placed in your heart before your mind says how, before your circumstances say impossible. Now, of course, they don't say that. Your circumstances don't say that. You interpret the circumstances as saying impossible, right? Before your emotions, oh, my bad, y'all. We got 10% on TikTok. Just give y'all a heads up. All right. Before your circumstances say impossible, before your emotions begin negotiating with reality, eternity, okay? Eternity, whoa, has already whispered, this belongs to you. The appearance of the desire is the first evidence that consciousness has recognized one of its own eternal possibilities. In that sense, desire isn't the beginning of creation. Desire is not the beginning of creation. Desire is the moment eternity introduces itself into your awareness. All right. So we talked about that before. So now we've got this diagram. If you're on YouTube, you can see this diagram. But also if you are YouTube or Instagram. But also if you're in the Discord. If you haven't joined the Discord, it's a free link in the bio. You can join it. And I typically post all these graphics within the Discord for you to review them before the lecture or afterwards once you get a little bit more clarity. All right. So let's go through this. Okay. This shows the difference between the desire and what we call the unholy trinity within this space. Right. I've heard people give their own little takes on unholy something, but the unholy trinity is the term. All right. Unholy trinity, it references your thoughts, your emotions, your circumstances. Thoughts, emotions, circumstances, right? So we had the exercise where I told you to close your eyes, picture your desire, and then we went through thoughts, emotions, circumstances, and we realized the desire is not any of those. So on the left, all right, your desire is the voice of consciousness. It is simply awareness recognizing possibility within itself. So all these things we did talk about, but this is going to have some interesting things, and you can screenshot this, blow it up. So what we're going to talk about a little bit later is the key difference. Key difference between the desire and the unholy trinity. The desire introduces you to who you are. It's possibility. It's a truth that rises within you. Okay. The unholy trinity is just negotiation, right? It convinces you of who you're not. Well, this is not possible. Well, the circumstances are looking like this, though. But what about that situation? But I don't feel worthy. Right? These are two different things, right? So, recognizing desires as true points you towards your truth. To summarize this thing, recognizing desires as true points you towards truth, but identifying with the unholy trinity keeps you in the lack loop of doom, right? We've talked about the lack loop of doom. Let's go through it real quick, okay? You have basically two options of what you want to accept as true. Number one, you can accept as true that your desires are the truth based on everything that we've talked about before, right? Your desire is truth. What does this do? This becomes your compass. It orients you to accepting that you're already in this moment. You're already worthy because you received the desire from consciousness. You didn't even choose it. It was just given to you as this divine gift. It orients you. It allows you to walk in faith, to trust. Or you can begin to believe the unholy trinity. And so when you begin to accept your thoughts, emotions, or circumstances as true, what typically happens is you enter the lack of doom, the lack loop of doom, because each of these things feeds into the others. Take your thoughts as ultimate truth. And what's going to happen is you're going to get that intrusive thought that says you're not worthy. Damn, if that's true, now all of a sudden it's going to drive your emotions. And so now your emotions get worse. And then a circumstance shows up. And when that circumstance shows up, all of a sudden you say, damn it, I knew that was true. Which leads to more thoughts, which leads to deeper emotions. And accepting that is true leads to more circumstances. And now you are just circling thoughts, emotions, circumstances while hoping that you can get out of the loop. This is the loop, the lack loop of doom. Constantly focused, constantly accepting that these things are the truth. Right? But we can transcend all of that by saying, you know what, my thoughts are, they are what they are. The emotions, they are what they are. The circumstances, they are what they are. However, my desire is the truth. Okay? My desire is the truth. So now let's get a little bit further. Next part, desire is not a choice. Desire is not a choice. If you did not choose the desire, if you didn't choose the desire, then who did? Then who did? Who chose your desire? Who chose that desire, right? What this question does is it starts to kind of tear apart all the things that we believed about ourselves, right? The separate self, the ego, the mind, right? You, the personality, it loves to imagine that it's choosing, doesn't it? You love to walk through life and believe that you're choosing. But I want you to look carefully. Think about these questions that I'm going to ask you, all right? Did you choose your favorite color? Was it revealed to you? Maybe that was a tough question to answer. Maybe some of you were too young, or you just say you have a favorite color. Okay, did you choose what makes you laugh? Did you choose what makes you laugh? Or did you just desire to laugh? You're just walking through life and all of a sudden you desire to laugh because something had a joke. Somebody had a joke and you laughed at it. All right, cool. Did you choose the music that you love? Did you choose the music that you love? Stay with your boy. Stay with your boy. Did you choose the music that you love? Your favorite song. Before you hit play, did you say, this is going to be my favorite song? Or did you hit play and all of a sudden, boom, you had a desire? Oh my God, I love this. Huh. Did you choose what information that you heard that broke your heart? Did you choose that, when I hear this is what's going to break my heart? Or did you discover those things about yourself? Did you discover those things about yourself? Desire belongs in the same category. It's a discovery about yourself. Your desire is a discovery about yourself. Desire reveals who you are. Desire is revealed to you. You're walking through that situation, right? And that bill comes and then you desire more money. You go out and you meet that thick, beautiful, chocolate, vanilla, whatever you like, whatever, taste, whatever palate you have, you like, right? You meet that beautiful woman, all of a sudden you have a desire to be more than friends, right? The desire reveals something about you. It doesn't ask permission, which means the appearance of desire is already evidence that consciousness contains the reality it has become aware of. Awareness cannot recognize what does not exist. Recognition requires existence. To recognize something, it must exist. Recognition requires existence, right? This is why I say your desire was guaranteed the moment it appeared. Let's go further. All right, cool. Let's go further. Infinite states already exist. Okay, so now we can understand why desire appears, right? You're not choosing your desire to appear. You're walking through life and the desires are presented to you. Okay, they're presented to you. But now, right, because everything already exists, right? Every version of you, every relationship, every business, every healed body, every dollar, every opportunity, okay? Infinite consciousness is exactly this. It is infinite. Nothing new is being created. Think of consciousness as an infinite mansion. One of the verses in scripture says, in my Father's house are many mansions. It also says, do you not know that you are the temple? You are the dwelling place of the Most High. Do you not know that, right? Dwelling place, house, mansion, right? It kind of overlaps, right? So now you are the house of God. And in my Father's house are many mansions. All right, cool. I want you to think of consciousness as an infinite mansion. If you're a demon slayer, it's like Infinity Castle. Walking into Infinity Castle. All right? It's an infinite mansion. Most people spend their lives standing in one room. So within you is an infinite mansion. And each mansion represents a different state, a different reality, a different choice, a different whatever, right? And what we do is, let's say that each of these rooms within the mansion, okay, in my Father's house are many mansions. In each of these mansions within you, in each of these rooms within the mansion, however you want to think about it, each of those is an identity. Okay? It's a story that we tell about ourselves, right? And that story could be, I'm the unlucky one. I'm the abandoned one. Okay? I'm the anxious one. I'm the broke one. I'm the rich one. I'm the one that gets women. I'm the one who doesn't, right? So each of these rooms is a different identity. Okay. Now, what do we think we have to do to get from one room to another? We think that, okay, if I'm in the room of lack, to get to the room of prosperity, then I have to force my way out of this room because I'm stuck in this room, right? So how do I do that? Maybe I'll break out of here with affirmations. Maybe I'll yell into the mirror affirmations, and one day, maybe I'll just move to a different room, right? We call this, in the manifestation space, they call this trying to change as the character, trying to manifest as the character. Remember, the character or the mind or the ego or the separate self, what I'm saying at least when I communicate that perspective is I'm simply saying it's a story. So if within me right now, I'm source and every reality exists, that means I'm rich, I'm poor, I'm broke, I'm homeless, I'm everything right here. All these things exist. Then it's not that I'm in one story and trying to bust out of that story. It's the realization that all stories are within me. So it's not that I have to, decide, okay, well, my past has said I'm broke. So because I've been broke, now I need to try to force my way out of this timeline. That's changing as the character. That's thinking I'm confined to this one reality within me. I'm identifying as somebody who is broke, as somebody who is in lack, and thinking to get to prosperity, now I have to affirm or choose or decide my way out of that. All right? I have to technique my way out of it. I have to work my way out of it. I have to force my way out of it. Changing as the character is I think I'm this one story. Choosing as source is saying, whoa, okay, I've been telling the story that I'm broke or in lack. But that's not actually the truth about me. What is the truth? The truth is all of these stories exist within me. So in me is the story of I'm broke, I am poor, I am rich, I have this person, I am healthy, I am not healthy. All of these exist within me. So I just get to choose which one is going to be the truth of me now. Now, you might say, well, hold up. What if this story feels heavy? We'll say, well, feeling heavy does not actually represent truth. Feeling heavy does not actually represent truth. Feeling heavy just means something is rehearsed a lot. Or it can mean something is familiar. And that familiarity could span for the last 20 years you've been telling a story about being abandoned, or maybe for the last year you've just been telling that story. Or maybe you had an emotional event 3 days ago and that story feels heavy. But heaviness does not equal truth. Emotions don't equal truth. Truth is a choice. Even saying because it's heavy, that must make it true, is still a choice. That's still a choice. You're choosing to say because it feels heavy, that must mean it's true. You could just as easily say, it might feel heavy, but I know my truth and everything is still working out for me. Okay, let's go a little bit further. So think of consciousness as an infinite mansion. Most people spend their lives standing in one room, in one story. I am broke, or I'm in lack, or I'm rich, or I have this person, or I'm abandoned, or whatever the case may be. Then one day, a door opens. Okay, imagine you're just standing in there, right? One day a door opens. Behind that door, the fulfilled relationship. Another door, the successful entrepreneur. Another, the healed body. Another, the loving marriage. Okay? Did opening the door create the room? Does opening the door create the room? No, it reveals the room, right? Opening the door just reveals what is already there. Manifestation is not construction. It's not creation. It's discovery. It is discovery, all right? So this graphic shows that. So right here, you've got all desires, all reality, all states. So this is you, this little guy, right? He's real cute. And within you are all of these possibilities. So we might call it the kingdom of heaven or the quantum field, the Akashic records, the universe, God, whatever you want to call it, right? It simply represents that there are infinite possibilities. Okay? There are infinite possibilities. So within you, every state, every reality, every version of you already exists. Already exists. So let's say that all these things exist, and then all of a sudden you become aware of something that you want. Okay. Since they all exist, your awareness of it isn't actually creating that thing, right? It's recognition of that. So desire is just recognition. You're not creating with your desire. The desire is recognition. You're pure awareness, right? You don't create what you desire. You recognize what is already true. So all of these things are true. Then you might say, you know what? One of the things that always, this feels like delusion. If all things are true, then wouldn't delusion just be a truth that hasn't been accepted yet? Isn't that what delusion actually is? Delusion is simply a truth that hasn't been accepted yet. I'm sure that when the Wright brothers were building the plane, motherfuckers walked by and said, "You're delusional." Now look at us. We jump in a plane, don't know how it works. We just fly our ass across the sky, right? Flying that plane, right? It always has been a truth. It just wasn't accepted until certain people came along. This is the case with every state, with every state, with every state. Okay? Let's go into the next part. Part 6. Why this desire? This is a good question, isn't it? It's a question that naturally appears. If infinite possibilities exist, why this one? Why this person? Right? If infinite possibilities exist, then why this person? Why this amount of money? Why this dream? Why this car? Okay? Because consciousness is recognizing itself through your unique point of view. Now, don't worry, we're going to go into a lot bit more detail about this one, all right? So here's the introduction, then we're going to break it down, right? Consciousness is recognizing itself through your unique point of view, okay? Desire is deeply personal. Desire is deeply personal without actually belonging to the person. Without actually belonging to the separate self or to the mind or to the ego. Desire is very personal. It is infinite consciousness saying, here is another way I've always existed. Okay? Nothing random is happening. The desire is perfectly tailored to awaken the recognition of yourself, the next recognition of yourself. All right, let's dive into this. Let's dive into this. So, by now, okay, you've been on this creation journey a lot, and you've seen people want their SPs and all this. This is a natural question that does pop up, isn't it? Okay, if all realities exist, if all things exist, am I actually limiting myself by wanting this specific person? No, you're not. But it's a valid question. And then we might push back. Why are you stuck? If you are abundance, why are you stuck on this person? Why are you stuck on that? Or we might feel more shame about it and be like, why would God, right? You say that my desire is God wanting to experience this desire through me. Why would God be sitting out there giving me the desire to be with her? Why does God want this car? Why does God want this amount of money? Does God want a penthouse? Now, before we go further, do you see the flaw in that? Do you see how we kind of went into duality with those questions? It's assuming a God out there playing puppet master with you. Do you see how we went into duality with that? So there's one issue, but let's break this down, okay? So now, if all realities exist, if every state already exists, if every possibility already exists, then why did this desire appear? Why not another one? Why this person, this career, this city, this dream? Why not someone else's? Now, most people, especially when you get into the religious crowd, right? They'll say things like, because God has a plan. Sure, right? That answer's a little lazy though. But sure, God has a plan, whatever, right? We can go a little bit deeper. Perhaps God doesn't simply have a plan. Perhaps God or consciousness of the universe or the Lord or the law has a perspective. I want you to imagine looking through a kaleidoscope, okay? Imagine you are looking through a kaleidoscope, okay? The light is one, right? So there's just one light going through the kaleidoscope. But every time, if you don't know what a kaleidoscope is, it's this thing that you put on and you can turn. Whoa, that was crazy. That was crazy, right? So it's this thing that you put on your eyes, you can turn it. And hold up, I got to verify the fucking puzzle piece. I got to verify the puzzle piece. All right. So you look through it and there's light that goes through it. And you can turn the kaleidoscope, okay? And when you turn the kaleidoscope, Each turn creates a completely unique expression. I ain't finna do that turn emotion again. But each turn completes a shows you a completely unique expression. The light doesn't change. So the light doesn't change. Only the perspective does. Consciousness works the same way. So let's think of consciousness like a kaleidoscope for a second. There is only one life. There is one awareness. There is one God. There is one truth. There is one source flowing through infinite different perspectives, right? You're a perspective. I'm a perspective. Within me is infinite perspective. Within you is infinite perspectives. There are more perspectives than are possible to perceive. Okay? But there's one infinite being. And yet it experiences itself through billions of unique perspectives. No two perspectives are identical. Have you ever went out into the world and met somebody that every perspective they had, you had the same one? You couldn't even talk because every time you tried to say something, they would say the same thing. Hello, whoa. Every word, every perspective was the same. No, you've never met that. You've never seen that because no two perspectives are identical. No two perspectives are actually meant to be identical. So what does that mean? It means your desires aren't mistakes. Okay? What are they? They are the unique way that infinity has chosen to know itself through the perspective called you. God, consciousness, source, awareness, life felt like it was good for me to have a lot of money. So it gave me that desire. For other people, they say it's good for you to experience life. You know, maybe you want to acquire the life, or you want even more money, or you want a different car, you want whatever. It's through you. We're going to get a little bit further, right? Now, let's look at your life. TikTok's definitely about to die, just to let you know. It's doing that weird thing. So jump to YouTube, all right? Let's look at your life. Every joy, every heartbreak, every success, every disappointment, every friendship, every betrayal, every unexpected opportunity, every closed door, okay? Every answered prayer. Can you see that each experience introduced the next desire? Right, TikTok is gone. We just on YouTube, right? Can you see that each experience introduced the next desire? Perhaps as a child, you only wanted to belong. You only wanted to belong, and you went through life and you experienced that perspective, right? Then all of a sudden, what happened? Then you desired friendship. Then what happened? Friendship introduced the desire for love. Okay, then love introduced the desire for commitment. Okay, then commitment introduced the desire to understand yourself. Okay, and then financial struggle introduced the desire for freedom. Okay, and then freedom introduced the desire for prayer. That's how I know folks on TikTok, y'all don't be listening. That's how I know, because I said it like 3 times, like, hey, the phone's finna die. The phone's finna die. The phone's finna die. All right, so commitment introduced the desire to understand yourself. Financial struggle introduced the desire for freedom. Freedom introduced the desire for purpose. Purpose introduced the desire to serve. Every experience gave birth to another recognition, right? Right? Every single experience just gave birth to another recognition. Why? Because consciousness was unfolding. Nothing was wasted. Every circumstance became the doorway to the next revelation of yourself. Every circumstance became the doorway to the next revelation of yourself. This is why I often say your circumstances have never been your enemy. They have never been your enemy, right? Now, what happens is that somebody will still say, well, why would God want me to be with this person? Why would God want me to be with this person? It sounds like a reasonable question. until you notice the assumption hiding underneath it. You're imagining God. The only way that you can ask this question is by imagining God sitting somewhere else, deciding which relationships he approves of. You have turned God into Santa Claus. You have turned God into a man in the sky. All right? But throughout this discussion, what have we actually been discovering? The desire doesn't come from outside of consciousness. There is nothing out there. There is nothing outside of consciousness. You are consciousness, right? So it arose within consciousness. So the better question isn't why would God want this relationship, right? Because now you're putting God outside of you, thinking that God is just spoon feeding you these desires from in the sky, trying to have these experiences through you, right? The question is, why has God become aware of this possibility through me? Why? 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 There is no separate God. There is no separate power outside of you. So when we say God wants these desires through you, we're saying consciousness, but you are consciousness. Consciousness wants these through you. So your experiences, as you have walked through life, your experiences have unfolded into new desires that were meant for you, that were possibilities for you based on your personality, your perspective, your awareness, who you are. Your desires are specific to you. The things that the ways that you want to serve, the things that you consider your purpose, they're specific to you. This is consciousness unfolding and revealing more of itself through you. This is the nature of consciousness. Consciousness unfolds and expands. It deepens, right? So why would God want this relationship versus why has God become aware of this possibility through me are two completely different questions. One assumes that God is separate from you. One assumes that God is making decisions about your life. The other recognizes that consciousness is revealing one of its own possibilities through your unique perspective. Could it be that this relationship is simply Could it be that this relationship is simply one way infinite love desires to experience itself? Of course. That is what it is. It's just one way. And it's possible. It's guaranteed. All right? Could it be that this business is one way infinite creativity wishes to know itself? The infinite, because you got to understand, right? When we say consciousness wants to experience this through you, we got to understand that you're all things. All experiences are within you. But now because of your unique perspective, one of infinite perspectives or one of infinite states or opportunities becomes available to you. It becomes available to you for you to accept that and move forward. All right? Could it be that this desire to teach is infinite wisdom expressing itself? How else could infinite wisdom express itself? In other ways, right? It could be teaching in a classroom, teaching in YouTube. It could be teaching your kids at home. But that desire is going to present itself what? Specific to that individual's perspective. Because the consciousness is that individual. This is how we collapse this illusion of separation, thinking when we say that God wants to experience the desire through you, it's not saying that a God in the sky wants to experience the desire through you. That's not what it means. It's saying the consciousness that you are, that is everything, wants to unfold and experience more of itself through your unique perspective. And your unique perspective has led to this desire. Okay? Could it be that this longing to build wealth is infinite abundance recognizing itself? Notice what happens when we ask the question this way. We stop asking whether the desire is allowed. Instead, we become curious about what aspect of God is awakening through it. All right. You have never desired anything independent of consciousness, because there is no consciousness apart from consciousness itself. Tongue twister. You've never experienced anything independently of consciousness, because there is no consciousness apart from consciousness itself. All right, let's sit with that for a second, right? Every genuine desire is infinity selecting one more way to experience its own nature through your perspective. That's the key right there. Through your perspective, you are source. Why would God want this desire? You're assuming that you're not source by asking that question. Why would God want that desire? It's you. You want that desire to experience more of yourself. Your experiences have led you to wanting this desire, which is why this desire is holy. You're not manufacturing experiences for a God outside of you. You are simply meant to stop resisting the experiences that God is already choosing to have through you, that you are trying to have through you. Every desire is another doorway through which the infinite says, this is another way I have desired. This is another way I have always existed. Come and know me here. All right, so we've got this. I don't know what's going on with how do I make the scroll bars come up with this again? Anybody a Google Docs whiz? Fuck it. They're in the Discord. You can see them in the Discord, all right? So now, why the desire? So this is just another way to explain what we just talked about, right? So we have the kaleidoscope analogy. So one light, this is one consciousness, one being. But this kaleidoscope is all of us, right? There's all these different unique perspectives. So every time you twist the kaleidoscope, you get a different life, a different path, a different desire, different gifts, different callings, different relationship. They're all unique, but it's still the same light shining through everyone, right? So your desires are just the way infinity's chosen to know itself through you. So this also kind of gives a depiction of what we talked about with the unfolding of desires, right? So in childhood, you just wanted to belong. Surrendering to that. All of a sudden, now you wanted connection, friendship, right? And then you got a hint of love. And you said, I want deep love. Then you say, you know what? I want commitment. I want the security. Then you say, you know what? I want to know myself. Then financial struggle led to you saying, I want freedom. And then a little bit of freedom. I want purpose now. And then it led to, I want to serve. So all of these things, these experiences began to unlock different perspectives of yourself within you. Nothing has been wasted. No experience in your life has been wasted. Every circumstance was leading you to the next revelation of you. Right? And then this is just reviewing the question that we asked. It's just a diagram for you to kind of reflect on the question that we asked of why would God want to desire this one person? All right. So the next part, desire is recognition. Cool. So now, what typically happens is we believe I desire it because I don't have it. But the actual truth is opposite. You desire it because somewhere within consciousness, it's already known, right? Somewhere within consciousness, it already exists. Recognition always precedes experience, always. Recognition precedes experience. A child recognizes their mother's voice before they understand language, right? Recognition precedes experience. You recognize beauty before you define it. Wow, that's beautiful. Why is it beautiful? Well, because now you define it. You recognize truth before you explain it. I just knew it was truth. I just accepted it was truth. Likewise, you recognize your fulfilled identity before you experience it physically. Desire is memory awakening. It is memory. Your desire is memory awakening. It is you remembering yourself the right way. It is not imagination creating. You're not creating with the desire. You're remembering yourself correctly. It is consciousness remembering itself, right? Now, what's the next question that seems to come up? Well, how do I know if this is a genuine desire or just a fantasy? Or we'll say things like, is this an ego desire or a real desire? Is this an ego desire or a real desire? Okay? Now, what the world has done is the world teaches us that desires are just wishful thinking. The desire is dangerous. It's wishful thinking. They're simply fantasies created by an overactive imagination. But let's kind of break down. What is the difference between a desire and a fantasy? A fantasy entertains. Recognition transforms you. Recognition transforms, fantasy entertains. Notice I didn't say fantasy versus desire. Notice I said fantasy entertains and recognition transforms. Fantasy allows you to escape your life. This is classification. Fantasy allows you to escape your life. Escapism, right? Recognition changes the way you live it. Fantasy is an attempt to momentarily feel something you believe you don't possess. That's fantasy. That's fantasizing. I temporarily can feel some shit that I don't actually believe that I possess. Recognition is consciousness remembering what has always been true. Fantasy comes and goes. One week you want to be an astronaut. The next week you want to be a musician, and then an actor, then something entirely different, right? Recognition is different. Recognition follows you. It follows you. It returns. Years may pass. You may convince yourself you've moved on from them. You may convince yourself you've moved on from that desire of wanting to do that thing, right? You can bury it beneath responsibilities. You can bury it beneath relationships. You can bury it beneath distractions. You can bury it beneath fear, yet somehow it finds you again. Why? Why? Because truth has a way of introducing itself until it finally is embraced. The desire, right? It's not that the desire is chasing you, right? Well, in the mystical sense, right, there will be a lot of teachers that say, the desire is seeking you, right? What you seek is seeking you. Okay. Which is true. It's seeking you, but that still implies distance, right? It still implies that something is moving towards you. Because if you think about the dance of the beloved and the lover, right, where mystics talk about the lover and the beloved, which is representing desire. It's representing this desire that rises within awareness, and you become aware of what is already yours. And then you come into the recognition that, oh, it's just me. This is me. This desire is actually me. The desire is never moving anywhere. It is a truth that has been there the entire time. It is simply waiting for your recognition. So even saying that it's seeking you still implies a little bit of distance, right? We're going to go a little bit further. We're going to say that the desire is waiting for your recognition because it's already the truth about you. It's already there. It's already here. Okay, so part 9. We got 23 parts, by the way, just in case you were curious. We got 23 parts. So part 9, why desire never leaves. Okay, why it never leaves. Have you ever noticed that the deepest desires almost seem immortal? You can ignore them. You can suppress them. You can distract yourself. You can pretend you've outgrown them. But somehow they return. That alone should make you curious. If desire were merely imagination, wouldn't imagination eventually invent something else? If desire were merely emotion, wouldn't emotion eventually fade? If desire were merely chemistry, wouldn't chemistry eventually balance itself? Yet some desires remain because truth is persistent. Imagine standing in front of a mirror. You can close your eyes, you can turn around, you can walk into another room, but the moment that you return, your reflection's still there because it was never dependent upon your what? Attention. Do you hear me? Do you hear me? When you return, your reflection is still there because it was never dependent upon your attention. Recognition works exactly the same way. Truth doesn't disappear because you temporarily forget it. Your fulfilled life is no different. What you want is no different. It does not cease to exist because you momentarily identify with fear. Boom. So what am I saying? What is the implication of this? Think about that. What's the implication of this? What is the implication of this? You have this recognition. You become aware of this possibility, of this truth within you. Oh my God, this is a truth within me that I am whole and complete and I have this beautiful relationship and this beautiful house and this money and prosperity. Just because you close your eyes and walk away from the mirror doesn't make you disappear. The truth is still there. It's still there. So the implication is that underneath all emotions, underneath all thoughts, underneath all circumstance, the truth that you are what you desire is already there. It's just that the mind wants to create all this noise on top of it. Right? The truth is this fine layer. It's this rooted, grounded layer. This recognition. It's before all the thoughts, emotions, circumstances come in. And then what happens is the mind comes in, and instead of just accepting that this layer is the truth, that I am the person that I desire to be, we add stories. Well, what about this circumstance? What about my feelings? What about my thoughts? What about the time? It's been this amount of time. What about that? And we are the ones that create these limitations. This is still the truth, though. So it's not even like you can stop it. You can't even stop your desire. Your misidentification, though, what it can actually do is slow this shit down. You can force it away and stay suffering for years. You sure can. You sure can. But it does not actually change this truth. Let's go a little bit further, right? So now, this is where suffering begins, okay? Because interpretation begins. So we've talked about how the desire is the truth. The desire is the recognition. Now, where does the actual suffering come in with the desire, right? And I saw something that was like, why would God want to experience something negative? Don't really know where that question came from. All right, but let's go a little bit further. All right, now interpretation begins. I want you to notice what happens. A desire appears. Okay, a desire appears. Now, for a brief moment, there is only recognition. For a brief moment, there is only recognition. A desire. There it is. I want that. Then almost immediately thought enters. The thought says, I don't have it. Right? Hear that again, right? The thought says, I don't have it. Now everything changes from that interpretation. The desire itself never showed up and said you lacked it. Reality didn't declare that you were separate from it. Right? Reality didn't declare that you were separate from it. God didn't whisper maybe someday. Only thought did. Right? God didn't whisper maybe someday. Only thought did. So this moment, right? This is the birthplace of the seeker. So we've went through kind of the life cycle of the desire that, okay, desire has always been there, or the states have always been there. And the desire is simply this possibility or this truth entering your awareness to simply be recognized and accepted. But now all of a sudden, now we're going to get into the nitty gritty of why do we block our desires? Right? Why do we block our desires? Why? Right? It starts with interpretation. It starts with interpretation. So that sentence, maybe someday. I don't have it right now. What about my circumstances? What do I have to do to get it? Now all of a sudden we're implying separation. There is no there is only consciousness. There is no separation between you and your desire. It's true right now. It exists right now. But the mind creates the story of separation. This is the symbolic meaning of leaving Eden. It wasn't a descendants into sin, not at least in the translation we're going to talk about today. Because we have done a discussion where we talked about like 10 different translations of the Garden of Eden. But today, we're going to talk about the leaving of the Garden of Eden. It's descending into forgetfulness. It is when you forget who you are. It is forgetting that you are in unity. Okay? It's not punishment or exile. It's simply misidentification. Adam and Eve didn't suddenly become separate from God. They weren't separate from God. They believed they were. Likewise, you've never become separate from your desire. You just believed recognition meant absence. But this has been programmed. This is something that's been taught to us over and over and over again, right? It's being taught to us over and over and over. Well, you know what? Boom. You've been taught from a kid. You've been taught since a child, right? If you have this desire, that means you don't have it. You have to do something to get it. You've even been taught that in the reality creation space. If you have this desire, you got to become worthy. You got to become the match. You got to do all these things. So you have been trained to look at your desires as proof of separation. Okay? So you've never become separate from your desire. You just believed recognition meant absence. What we're trying to do is change the way that you look at desire. When you change the way that you look at things, your relationship with that thing changes, your relationship with yourself changes, you can actually experience the things that you want. The misidentification, the misunderstanding, it creates an entirely new identity. When you look at your desire and you allow the mind to tell a story and you take the mind story as serious, I am not who I desire to be. I have to be something else. I have to do something else. That is when the seeker identity is born. That is when the seeker identity is born. From that simple misidentification, and it happens very, very quickly. All right? So part 11, the birth of the seeker. Watch how quickly the mind hijacks something beautiful. Recognition just says there. You have this desire that shows up within awareness and you recognize it there. And now the mind says what? It says how. The recognition says this is you. The mind says when. Recognition says it already belongs to you. The mind says what technique should I use? The desire was incredibly simple. It's incredibly simple. The separate self or the mind or the ego is what complicated it. This is what makes manifestation exhausting, right? This is what makes it exhausting because the mind doesn't like to tolerate simplicity. It always needs another step, another affirmation, another coach, another tarot reading, another sign, another confirmation, right? And every single one of those things, every single one of those assumptions. Well, what do I have to do? What am I doing wrong? Well, how long should it take? Why is it not here? What about this technique? Should I get the tarot reading? All of those things assume the exact same thing. There is always one underlying assumption within all of those. And that assumption is I am not there yet. That is the assumption within all of these. I am not there yet. The technique isn't the problem. You affirming or visualizing or scripting or journaling or, howling at the moon is not the problem. The identity performing it is the problem. If you affirm because you know who you are, because you know this is you and it's a celebration of what you already have and you love to remind yourself of the truth, beautiful. If I affirm because I hope to become someone else, well, what I'm doing is I'm going to begin to strengthen the identity that I'm trying to dissolve. Because Now I've accepted this truth that I'm not it. And I'm trying to become it. All the while, I'm more and more just affirming and feeling bad that I'm not it. And I'm creating more and more and more separation, right? This is why two people can perform the exact same practice. Are we going to literally sit here and say that affirmations don't work? The techniques don't work? Is that what we're going to do? I hope not. I wouldn't think that we would do that. But we would also take it a step further and be like, well, sure, they might be a vehicle for an intention, but they're not actually containing any kind of magic. It's the identity underneath them. But we know people that swear by affirmations. They swear by, journaling. Is what they do wrong? No, of course not. But some people can do those same things and not get it. Matter of fact, some people can say, oh, I just decided and still not get shit. Their life just gets worse and worse. And they just spiral and spiral. Right? It's not any kind of, when you treat any of these things as a technique, whether it's I am, whether it's just deciding, whether it's affirming, like when you treat any of these things as just a technique to get something, while you are still holding on to the truth that you're not it, none of the shit works. All of it becomes frustrating. Okay? It's all about you first. It's about the identity performing whatever. It's the identity performing whatever. When I know I'm him, right? Like if you just knew you were him and you had a lucky pair of dirty socks that you never washed and you put them on, and every time you know, when I put these hoes on and I go out to the club, women are flocking. If you are in that identity, it's not the socks that make you powerful. It's your belief. It's your knowing of who you are, simply filtered through the socks, that allows all those things to happen. All right? It's your belief. It's your acceptance of truth that allows all those things to happen. All right. So now this is why two people can perform the exact same practice and get entirely different experiences. One is expressing identity. The other is negotiating with it. So this right here is going to be, all right. So this shows basically the birth of the secret. And of course, this is in the Discord as well. Let me move this shit over. Cool. So now this just represents that journey of leaving the Garden of Eden. The Garden of Eden is simply just the unity of you and your desires, the unity of you and truth, the unity of you and source. So you have desire that appears, which is just a possibility that enters awareness. And once that desire appears, remember the desire comes before the recognition. You have the desire and then you recognize, oh, this exists. This is possible. This is what I want. Now from that, you have two paths. You have the path of I am that, or the path of I don't have that. The path of I am that is simply resting in the recognition that the desire is guaranteed. It's knowing that my identity is wholeness, right? And this leads to peace. It leads to relationships. It leads to what you want to call the bridge of incidents, which we'll talk about as well, which leads to a natural expression and manifestation. But now, when you say, I don't have that, right, which is typically formed when what? When we start to take the mind seriously and the emotions seriously. Because the mind wants to ask all these questions in sophisticated ways. How? When? Why me? What technique? What sign? What confirmation? Which leads to waiting, needing evidence, monitoring circumstances, fear. All right? So interpretation creates separation. Interpretation creates separation. All right? So now the next part. Actually, this is live. Give me a second. Let me go to the restroom. Before I keep rambling on. Y'all grab a drink or something if you want. Be right back. And let me get my charger. All right. Appreciate y'all's patience. Appreciate y'all's patience. I got a little tired for a second, man. Had to move around. See if there were any questions for now. Yeah, what's up, Edward? I remember you, my family. So it's about knowing who I am and everything will follow what I am. Absolutely. That's all it is. It's about knowing who you are and everything will follow who you are, for sure. I appreciate y'all's patience. All right, let's get into it. Or do y'all need a couple more seconds? I know y'all just staring at y'all's phone like zombies anyway. But how do I get SP? But what about my SP? All right, perfect. Let's go. So now, part 12, all right? The Great Delay. The Great Delay. So we're going to naturally move into the next question, all right? The next question is, if it's already guaranteed, then why hasn't it happened? If it's already guaranteed, why hasn't it happened, right? Maybe the better question is, what exactly do you mean by it? Right, we're going to get a little bit non-dual here, right? What exactly do you mean by it? Because from the perspective of consciousness, nothing has been delayed. Only recognition has. From the perspective of consciousness, the only thing that is delayed is your recognition that it's already here, right? The fulfilled relationship exists. The abundant version of you exists. The healed body exists. The successful business exists. What appears delayed is what? It's your willingness, your unwillingness, or your willingness to identify with them. I want you to think about it. The moment the desire appeared, you divided yourself into two people, the one who has it and the one trying to get it, right? So you've made yourself double-minded. Because just having the desire means that there is a version of you that has accepted this desire as true. That's it. That's it. You have the desire. So why not simply accept it? Okay? But then there's this other version of you that's asking all these questions. How do I get it? What do I have to do? How long is it taking? What about this? What about that? Right? You have split yourself into the one who has and the one that does not have. And it's the refusal to unify yourself back into truth that is causing the delays, right? So you have the one that has it and the one trying to get it. From this moment forward, because understand, an identity of someone trying to get it is an identity of not having it. How could I try to get what I already have? Matter of fact, if I already had it, then I wouldn't be walking around trying to embody a state of having it. If I had it, I'd just know that I had it and I'd just be me. Everything is just cool. It is what it is. Right? It's the person that doesn't have it that thinks they have to walk around embodying a state. Creation is recognition. Manifestation is recognition. It's recognition that you already have it. It's a recognition that the truth is that you already have it. And anything opposite of that truth isn't the truth. Okay? So now everything becomes measurement. When you become the person trying to get it, everything becomes measurement. Every circumstance becomes evidence that you don't have it, or it becomes evidence of movement. Every setback becomes another reason to doubt. But none of those experiences actually delayed the desire, because none of those experiences meant anything. They were all actually the unfolding of the desire. It's just your misidentification of those and deciding that because this happened, I'm not it and I can't get what I want, which puts you in another reality where what you want seems to be delayed more. You seem to experience more and more things that prove to you that you're right about not having it, right? So none of those experiences delayed the desire. They only delayed your recognition, okay? Manifestation doesn't wait for permission. The manifestation was done. The first real manifestation is the desire was given to you. That's it. It's done. It's done. When you have the desire, it is done. The identity is what's holding everything up. It's just your recognition of that as the truth. The acceptance of this as the truth that's holding this up. So the next part, the violence of waiting. Waiting seems harmless, right? And this is something that we're preached all the time. Just wait. Your time will come. Be patient. But what are you actually saying with this? You have this desire and all of a sudden you're trying to be patient and wait. And yet, what are you actually saying? I'm not there yet. You're still saying I'm not there yet. I'm not it yet. I still need something. Every moment spent psychologically waiting is simply another moment identifying as someone incomplete. Every moment psychologically waiting is what? It's you identifying as somebody incomplete. That is self-denial. You're denying yourself the truth of what you are. Imagine asking somebody their name. They simply smile and confidently answer. Would you ask them to wait until they become that person? Of course not. Identity is immediate. No one waits to become themselves. I'm not Alex yet, but hold up. All right, cool. I've embodied Alex. Like, identity is immediate. It's immediate. The moment I recognize, do you hear what I'm saying? The moment I recognize my name, I am it. The moment I recognize my desire, I am it. Identity is immediate. Recognition is immediate, right? No one waits to become themselves. Then why do we wait to become abundant? Why do we wait to be loved? Why do we wait to become successful? Because we've mistaken identity for achievement. Your identity is not the achievement. Your identity is not earned. It's simply recognized. And your desire is the compass showing you who you are. It's just there for you to recognize. It's just there for you to recognize. This is why the one who truly knows stops waiting. Waiting doesn't make sense. How could life wait to become life? How could love wait to become love? How could consciousness wait to become itself? How can you, if these desires are given to you as a truth of who you are right now, then what does it even mean to wait? How can you wait to become yourself? How can you try to embody what you already are? You just are love. It's just the truth about you. What is there to wait for to be more of love? You just are love. You just are it. When you stop psychologically postponing yourself, now you're going to stop feeding the illusion of delay. Okay? And now the bridge is going to feel less like a journey towards your desire and feel like life naturally rearranging itself around a recognition that's already taken place, right? Because if waiting is an illusion, right? Because we're going to go into the next part. Now, if waiting is an illusion, now what exactly is time? Because a lot of you will say, okay, well, cool. Well, obviously it does not happen immediately. And I'll say, well, it does happen immediately. You have it now. You'll say, no, it's been 3 months. It's been this long. It's been X amount of time and I'm getting impatient. I'm getting tired. I'm getting frustrated. So let's talk about time a little bit, all right? Now, part 14, why time exists. One of the illusions of time, right? Because you can tell me that it's been 6 months or 3 months. I don't know what you mean by that. Nobody does except for you. Time is not an objective experience. Don't worry, we're going to break this down, all right? So we'll say things like, it's been 3 years. It's been 6 months. I'm running out of time. But have you ever actually experienced time itself? Have you ever actually experienced time itself? Or have you only experienced changes within awareness? I want you to think about your childhood, all right? Do you remember how long a single school day felt when you were a child? It'd be a single school day felt like it lasted ages. Ages. It felt like there were different chapters within the day. Right? Do you remember the last hour before summer break? It felt like ages. Ages. Do you remember the final 10 minutes before recess? Right? Time felt almost frozen. Now, I want you to think about adulthood. Something that we'll say is it feels like time's moving faster, right? Monday becomes Friday before you've even realized the week begun. Entire months disappear. When you were younger, you had these things to reference, right? You were working towards, you had spring break, and then you had summer break. You had the ultimate vacation, summer break. You had Christmas break. And you had all these things, and it seemed to break through time, break down time. And then, you were more present because you were in that class with that beautiful girl. In that class with that beautiful girl, right? And all of a sudden, it felt like time slowed down. And then you get into the corporate world, there's no break. There's no sense of break. It's just work, work, hustle, hustle, move, working towards the weekend. And then it feels like time just blends. We look up and say, damn, it's already July. Damn, it's already July, right? Entire months disappear. You say things like, I can't believe it's already July. What changed? The clock didn't change. Time itself didn't change. Right? The clock moved exactly as it always has. Well, it's debatable, right? Debatable, right? But for the nature, for the purpose of this lesson, you know what I'm saying. I know a smart ass is going to be like, well, actually, time is moving. According to this, time is moving faster, right? I understand. I get what you're saying, right? But what changed? The clock didn't change. The clock moved exactly as it always has. The experience changed. Watch a championship game, right? You're watching the World Cup. When they put them extra 5 minutes on the clock, it feels like forever. It feels like forever. The last 5 minutes, they last forever. Your attention becomes so absorbed that every second stretches. Ask Rita, she knows. Every second stretches. Now, spend a Sunday afternoon watching Netflix. A bunch of episodes of a show you've already seen. All of a sudden, what happens? Hours just vanish into nothing. Hours just seem to fucking vanish. Which one was real? Which experience of time was real? Neither. Time bends according to identification. Have you ever waited for someone to text you? I know y'all have. I know y'all have waited for somebody to text you. 5 minutes can feel like an hour. Why? Why? Because your identity is waiting. Because you're in the identity of waiting. So you start to make time stretch. The identity of waiting makes time stretch. Now imagine spending an evening laughing with your closest friends. You look at the clock and somehow 6 hours have disappeared. Presence collapses time. Waiting expands it. Presence collapses time. Waiting expands it. This It's why we say time isn't experienced through clocks. It is experienced through identity. The one who believes they are becoming something lives inside psychological time. The one who recognizes they already are begins to live in eternity. The one who knows they already are, they immediately begin to live in eternity. And it's not because the clocks disappeared. It's because they stop measuring themselves against them. When you stop measuring yourself against the clock, the time just collapses. The person who has arrived doesn't count the miles, y'all. The moment you arrive, you don't count the miles. Only the traveler does. So let's go into our next scripture, all right? Habakkuk. I always know I pronounce that shit wrong. Habakkuk 2:3 says, though it tarry, wait for it, because it will surely come. Now, you might look at that and say, wait for it. I thought we said don't wait. Well, we've got to go back to the Hebrew. We're going to break this down the righteous way, okay? So at first glance, it appears to endorse waiting for something outside yourself to eventually arrive. But of course, we go metaphysically. Metaphysically, that interpretation creates separation where none exists. The vision isn't delayed because God is withholding it, nor because reality has yet to decide whether you're worthy of it. Okay, God's not withholding. God's already given you the desire, given you the promise. And the desire or reality, it doesn't show up and say, oh, you're not worthy. Let me go away. The moment you had the desire, you were worthy. And the moment you got that desire, you probably had a bunch of feelings, a bunch of emotions, or maybe not. Either way, it wasn't your emotions or your thoughts or your circumstances that played a role. The desire was simply given to you. All right. Now, the vision already exists in consciousness the moment it is recognized. What appears to tarry is not the fulfillment itself, but your experience of its unfolding through time. Let's go further, all right? So now, let's talk about the concept of waiting in Hebrew. Okay, let's talk about the concept of waiting in the Hebrew, all right? So now, the Hebrew idea of waiting is far richer than passive delay or anxious anticipation. It carries the sense of remaining steadfast, firmly established, and confidently expectant because of what has already been revealed. So when we actually translate this, wait for it, to the Hebrew, right? The Hebrew word translated wait is this thing. This thing, I ain't even finna try. This thing, haka, okay? It comes from the Hebrew root, haka, chaka, okay, cool. Right, this is important because this word in Hebrew doesn't mean sit around until something happens. It does not mean sit around until something happens. Okay, so the semantic range of the definition of this word wait, when we actually translate it, this is the semantic range. To wait with expectation. To remain in eager anticipation. To stay fixed upon. To tarry with confidence. To await because something is certain. It's just the one that I like the most. To wait because not wait. To await because something is certain, right? So the Hebrew idea is richer than passive delay or anxious anticipation. It carries the sense of remaining steadfast, established, and confidently expectant because of what has already been revealed. In other words, waiting isn't sitting on the sidelines hoping God eventually acts. It is standing so firmly in the truth you have already recognized that the passage of time no longer has the authority to persuade you otherwise. It is the refusal to renegotiate your identity simply because the visible world has not yet reflected it. Waiting, then, is not the absence of certainty in this. It is certainty sustained through sequence. Waiting in this sense of this verse, is simply certainty sustained through sequence. Beautiful. You're not waiting for reality to become true. You're remaining faithful to the truth until the mirror of experience reflects what consciousness has already recognized. Beautiful. So this verse, you're not being instructed to become a spectator of time. What are you being instructed to do? To refuse to abandon your to refuse to abandon your recognition because sequence has not yet completed its revelation. Time is not deciding your future. A week, a month, a year, it's not deciding your future. It's introducing you to what already exists within eternity. The vision surely comes because it was never absent in the first place. The desire has never been absent. But when you keep on recognizing it as absent, recognizing it as not being enough, not doing enough, then you create the illusion of delay that you continuously experience. In other words, in simpler words, stop focusing on not having it. Stop focusing on trying to become it. Like, filter all that shit out your mind. The trying to become and working to get and trying to embody and affirming to have and doing to get. All the doing to get, leave that alone. You are already it right now. It's the choice. It's a choice of recognizing the truth or a choice of acknowledging the unholy trinity. Okay? That is it. So part 15, the desire is calling you. Most people believe they're moving toward their future. I want to suggest something far more beautiful. What if your future has been moving towards you all along, right? Like, we talked about this sense of separation, but let's put it in a little bit more poetic way, right? We talked about how this could kind of give an illusion of separation, but that's cool, right? Let's talk about this, all right? I want you to think about the language that we use. We'll say, I'm chasing my dreams, or I'm pursuing abundance, or I'm trying to find love. Listen carefully to what's being hinted with those statements. Every one of those statements assumes movement away from yourself, right? I'm chasing my dreams. I have to go somewhere, right? I'm pursuing abundance, right? I have to go somewhere, as if what we want is out there. But what if nothing is actually running from you? What if your desire isn't an object in the distance? What if your desire is a voice calling your name? Imagine standing in a valley. Someone you love is standing on the mountain across from you. You hear them call you. Did their voice create their existence? No. Their voice didn't create their existence. It revealed where they already are. Where did you receive that desire? Within you. The desire is revealing where it already is, right? This is what desire is. It is the echo of your fulfilled identity calling itself home. You're not reaching toward abundance. Abundance is recognizing abundance. You're not reaching towards love. Love is remembering itself through you. You're not becoming successful. Success is awakening to itself. Do you see how this changes things? When you actually look at desire righteously, do you see how it just allows you to relax and allows you to flow and it allows you to be? Recognizing this truth should be natural, not hard work. It should be absolutely natural, right? Your desire is not evidence that something's missing. It is evidence that something is calling. And the reason it feels so magnetic is because consciousness always recognizes itself, right? So Psalm 37:4. Okay, so Psalm 37:4, it says, delight yourself in the Lord, and he will give you the desires of your heart. And I love talking about these verses that talk about delight yourself in the Lord, and life and death is in the power of the tongue, and those that love it will eat his fruit. I love the romantic and poetic nature of these things because it's inviting you. It's trying to seduce you into the moment. It's trying to make, the relationship with the knowing of who you are appetizing and seductive and make it enticing and pull you in. And what do? We say, no, I don't want to know who I am. I just want my SP. Right? With knowing who you are the SP. You are the money. Right? The desire showed up within you. The desire for them showed up within you. Okay? So delight yourself in the Lord and he will give you the desires of your heart. I always start with this same line when I use this verse, right? It's often interpreted as a transaction. If you love God enough, if you behave well enough, if you become spiritual enough, then God will reward you by granting your desires. But this is actually pointing to something much deeper. To delight yourself in the Lord. What does it actually mean to delight yourself in the Lord? What is the Lord? The Lord is the law. Okay, cool. Who is the law? You are the law. You are the life. You are the way. You are the truth. Right? In this context, your desire is the truth. Your desire is pointing you to what you already are. It's pointing you to what you already are, right? So to delight yourself in the Lord is to delight yourself in your true nature, to rest in the recognition that the life within you is God expressing himself as you. Okay, so if the life within you is God expressing itself as you, okay, and the desire is consciousness giving you the desire, it's God giving you the desire, then what would it be like to trust that your heart is going to beat in the next moment? Right? Trust that. You trust that. And make that the same way that you trust that your desire is already guaranteed right now. This is your nature. The same life that beats your heart gave you the desire. It has never missed a moment. What's stopping you from trusting that life? What's stopping you from trusting that source? Right? So now from this place, desire can arise naturally from the fullness of your being. The desire is not separate from God. It is God. The desire is God. It's just one of the ways God experiences his own infinite nature through you. So even when we kind of look back on this, delight yourself in the Lord and he will give you the desires of your heart. It doesn't say God will create the desires for you after you earn them. It doesn't say delight yourself in the Lord and affirm. And affirm until your heart is content, until God is content. Affirm until God is content. And then he will create the desires of your heart and give them to you. It says he will give you the desires of your heart. Will, not being will in time, will as a statement of ownership right now. He will give them to you. It's guaranteed. He will. It's guaranteed. It's the same damn thing. Okay? He will give you the desires of your heart. Metaphysically, this can be understood in two ways at once. God places the desires within you, and God fulfills that desire through you. Both are true. Both are true. The very fact that a genuine desire arises is evidence that consciousness has already recognized a possibility it longs to experience. Your role isn't to question whether you deserve it or to chase it as though it exists somewhere outside yourself. Your role is to recognize that the desire itself is part of the gift. It is the first whisper of eternity making itself known within time. It is inviting you to become conscious. Your desire is seducing you. It is trying to tempt you and seduce you and initiate you to becoming conscious of what has always been available in the mind of God. It is reminding you who you are. This is who you are. Please accept it, recognize it, accept it, and we're going to stay here and we're going to wait patiently until you do. But instead, we want to believe, oh no, we got to do this. I got to affirm more. I got to be more. I got to do more. What about the circumstance? They're not texting me. My SP's being mean, right? We want to create every story instead of simply allowing life to unfold and staying in the knowing of who we are, staying in the acceptance of our desires, right? So now, why circumstances become loud, suddenly become loud, right? Now, let's notice what happens in the next phase, right? You recognize your desires, right? You recognize your desires. And now you begin identifying differently. Okay, cool. I have my desire. All right, more money. I'm prosperity. All right, cool. I recognize that. That's the truth about me. Now, all of a sudden, everything, quote unquote, appears to get worse. I'm not talking about circumstances. That could be something, sure. But what I'm talking about is the old fears become louder. The old emotions become stronger. The old memories return. Circumstances almost seem to mock your decision, right? People immediately assume they're moving backward when this happens. But I would suggest the opposite. Nothing actually became worse. The lights simply came on. Imagine walking into an attic at night. Right? You walk into the attic and it seems clean because it's dark as shit. You can't see nothing. You just been moving unconsciously through it. Oh, it seems clean enough. Whatever. Okay, cool. And now all of a sudden, the sunlight appears, right? You go back there in the day and you see dust floating everywhere. You see shit all out of place. Did the sunlight create the dust? No, of course not. It just revealed what had always been there. So yeah, you've got all these janky ass assumptions that's been sitting there. So the moment that you say, I am prosperity, okay, and you're like, you know what, I'm not going to identify with these old 3,000 stories of I am broke, right? And you think, oh yeah, I'll just decide on prosperity right now. Oh, okay, cool. So you decide your prosperity right now. Now you're walking through life. You're okay, I'm cool. I'm prosperity. It's all right. It's done. Let me just be present. There's nothing for me to do. All right. Now, all of a sudden, that bill shows up and you get that feeling in your stomach. And you're like, oh, shit. Okay, feelings don't matter. All right. But this one just feels heavy. All right. Damn, it's because, I've always struggled with money. Boom. All right. So now, all of a sudden, we've made the feeling into a story. Now, is this wrong? Is it bad? Yeah, if I accept it as truth, it's quote unquote bad, right? But isn't this more so an opportunity? I've already recognized who I am, so it's done. The desire is guaranteed. The emotions, thoughts, circumstances, the unholy trinity, they're not controlling anything, right? They're not creating anything unless I accept them as true. So, okay, cool. What do I actually have to do? Perhaps I want to actually investigate this. Perhaps I want to say, you know what? Why do I feel bad about this bill? Or maybe I feel like I just never have enough. There's always one thing that there's another, right? Well, okay, cool. But initially when that bill showed up, I said, damn, why did this happen? But it wasn't that this happened. Anything that happened would have led me to that same story. Okay, cool. So what if I just examined that story? Because obviously, whether it was a bill, whether it was somebody calling to borrow money, no matter what it was, I was still going to start tripping and start telling a story. So perhaps now that I'm in prosperity and I know that I'm not lack anymore, I've recognized that. Now I can actually look at this story and just allow it to, I don't have to give it any meaning, or I can parent myself through it. Hey, look, now things are different. Everything is working out. We don't have to, this isn't the truth about us anymore. And eventually this story loosens its grip. The moment I recognized I was prosperity, everything is unfolding anyway. But I just don't want to walk through life and always be down and out, always be hurt. Therefore, I use this opportunity to do what? Well, if it doesn't matter how I feel, but I just don't want to tell the story because it's just easier for me to walk through life and I want to be grounded and rooted and emotionally cool, well, then I can just parent myself through it. Right? I don't have to force it away or affirm over it. I can just look at it and let it dissolve. I can love myself through it and allow it to dissolve. All right, so back to this, okay? So the moment you decide I am abundance, it's like every belief that was quietly whispering, that was just there underneath the shadows, it begins to whisper, right? Like, no, you're not. All those things become visible. And some people will call this resistance. We're not going to call it resistance, right? It's just because awareness has began to illuminate things within you, right? Old stories are just illuminated, right? Matter of fact, we could call it resistance if we wanted. Old stories are being illuminated. You can call it resistance. We're not going to get into a semantic battle today, all right? Because I already kind of went back on my semantics standing on 10 toes, right? But you have these old stories, or you have this resistance that pops up, whatever you want to call it, right? It's not that this is anything bad. This has nothing to do with you not getting your desire, right? It's just that light, right? Your awareness that I am prosperity, it refuses to hide what has to be healed. When you didn't want to walk as prosperity, then those stories didn't bother you as much. You just unconsciously allowed them to just do whatever. But now that you've decided that you're prosperity, these things can show up for you to purify yourself, okay? So now, purification and not failure. This is where a lot of people will begin to, abandon themselves. So we're kind of going through this life cycle of the desire. You had the desire. It came from consciousness. It is the guarantee, right? You've turned into this seeker, and then you've realized, I'm not the seeker, and you've accepted this as truth. And even though you've accepted it as truth, now you're like, damn, well, how do I deal with these fears and these doubts and these thoughts and all of these natural things that show up on the path, right? So we assume that discomfort means something's gone wrong, but nothing's gone wrong. Everything has just become visible, right? Now that you have decided that you are prosperity, now that you have remembered or recognized who you are, now all these things become visible. So you decide I'm loved. The next day, loneliness appears. And it's not because love disappeared. It's because loneliness actually has permission to leave. You decide I'm prosperous. Fear about money rises. Beautiful. Beautiful. Fear about money rises. Beautiful. That fear was already there. It was already there. It was going to show up when the money showed up, or it's going to show up right now when you decide it's your prosperity. It was going to show up anyway. But now it's surfaced so it can be witnessed instead of unconsciously obeyed. What would it be like to sit in the knowing that you're prosperity and allow that emotion to rise up, allow those thoughts and stories to rise up, and instead of just trying to push them and force them away, what would it be like to actually just sit with them and say, you know what, these aren't true. Just watch them and look at them and know that they're not true until they fade away. What you're going to realize is when you do this, you're going to see that when these stories fade, when that emotion fades in a minute or an hour or fucking a week, however long it takes, what is going to be remaining after that? The truth. The truth is going to remain. The truth is going to remain, right? So you decide I'm healthy. All of a sudden, old anxieties become noticeable. Again, nothing has gone wrong. You're just seeing what's always been operating beneath the surface. Do not mistake the revelation, right? Don't mistake the feelings and thoughts and circumstances. Do not mistake anything for regression. None of it is. One of the biggest mistakes people make is believing peace means nothing uncomfortable will arise. Real peace allows everything to arise without changing who you know yourself to be. This is purification. And it has nothing to do with being tested. God's not testing you, right? It's just that it's not because the universe is making you prove yourself. It's not because you are being tested. It's simply that truth cuts through illusion. And sometimes the illusion has to show up so your ass can cut through it. The truth naturally exposes illusion. All right? So now, did I post this in the Discord? I think I did. I think I posted this in the Discord. Did I post that, y'all? I was gonna try to get the bars back for fuck it, we ball. Fuck it, we ball. You feel me? Fuck it, we ball. I hate the way this screen is doing this. How the fuck do I turn this bullshit off? Oh, hell no. That's even worse. Oh, hell no. That's even... I got an idea. Ta-da. Look at that magic. Magic. Ain't that great, y'all? I know. All right. So why circumstances suddenly become loud. So this is just a walkthrough of everything that we just talked about in these last two parts. All right. So this is just a nice visual for you visual learners. If you don't have it, you can jump in the Discord and you can get it for the freebie. For the freebie. Let me turn that off. Cool. So now part 10, 15, 16, 7, part 18. 5 more, y'all. 5 more. 6 more, y'all. 6 more. All right. So the bridge of recognition. Okay. Now, let's talk about what the bridge of incidents means from this perspective. The bridge of incidents of getting to your desires. All right. Maybe I should have broke this up into two lectures. I'm starting to think so now. It should have been 2 hours and 30 minutes, which is crazy. All right. Most people imagine the bridge as a path leading toward their desire. Okay, it's a path leading toward their desire. Almost like life is constructing a staircase. Your desire is there, and life is creating a staircase, and you're walking, and it's being created at every moment, right? It is life reorganizing around an identity that has already changed. Okay, what are the implications of this? This means that every conversation, every coincidence, right? A flat tire, all right, spilling a bowl of cereal on the floor, all of it is the bridge of incidences. Every opportunity, every ending, every unexpected beginning, every person who enters your life, every person who leaves it, they're not creating your future. They're expressing your recognition. Think about a seed. Does the tree become a tree the moment it breaks from the soil? No, of course not. The tree was already present within the seed. Okay? Your desire is already here. It's already here within all of this. You are the seed. You are the soil. You are the seed. You are the unfolding. You are the desire. You are the circumstance. You are all of it. Everything that you desire is already here now. Just because you don't see the tree don't mean the tree ain't there. It's already here right now. Right now. All right? So the tree was already present within the seed. Growth simply reveals what was always there. Likewise, the bridge is not making you become someone. It's expressing someone you've already recognized yourself to be. Okay? Now, why it's very, very important to understand that everything blends. Everything blends. Okay? Everything blends. Whether it's an argument, okay? Whether it's an argument, whether you're getting kicked out the club, whatever it is, all of it is blending for your desires. When you can really trust this and trust life, what you're going to stop doing is you're going to stop micromanaging life. You're going to stop micromanaging experiences, and you're going to allow experiences to flow and be as they are. Because what else can you do? What else can you do? Okay, so this is why trying to control every circumstance is exhausting. The bridge belongs to life. It belongs to God. It belongs to source. It belongs to being. It belongs to the universe, whatever you want to call it. The only job that you have in this is recognition. This is it. The bridge, the unfolding of life, that belongs to life. That's life's job. But you're sitting here, your only job is recognition, and you can't even do that. But you're sitting here judging life for its job. Ooh, it looks like this. It looks like that. Why are they texting like this? Just do your job. You have one job. Just do your job and allow everything else to do what it does. You know what micromanaging the bridge does? It just delays life for you. First of all, it's miserable because you're not present. Because typically when you jump into micromanaging, I ain't never met a micromanager that micromanage things positively. Have you ever met a micromanager, like somebody that was a micromanager and they just micromanage you in a positive way? Oh my God, good job at every turn. Hell nah. That's not what a micromanager is. A micromanager is we already have a perspective of them, that they come in and they micromanage you in a shitty way. This is what you're doing in life. You're misidentifying, right? You refuse to simply recognize that it's done and watch how life blends and enjoy the show of being the passenger princess. That's what you are. The desire is like the GPS. Source is just showing you the GPS saying this is where we're going. And your only job is to recognize, oh, that's where we're going. And sit in the passenger seat and allow life to unfold. And sometimes it looks like you go through construction. Sometimes it looks like you're taking a wrong turn. Your job's not to slap the driver on the arm and say, hey, whoa, hey, that looks wrong. You don't know what wrong is. But the moment that you declare that it is wrong, guess what? It becomes wrong. It becomes wrong. And you're not stopping life. You're just delaying getting to the destination. Because instead of recognizing and enjoying the flow, now you're misidentifying it. You're standing as double-minded. You're standing in the middle of truth, saying that this is not working, and then wondering why reality is going to continuously give you proof that it's not working. It's our misidentification, all right? Your only invitation, your only job is to remain faithful to who you have remembered yourself to be. Life will take care of the choreography. It always has. And this explains something that confuses almost everyone. Sometimes the bridge looks nothing like the destination. Sometimes it looks nothing like the destination. A relationship may end before the right one appears. Sometimes you might have to cut that SP off. And all of a sudden they come back new and improved. Cut them off, send them back to the factory. And they come back new and improved. Sometimes their job lays you off until that new job comes in with all the money. You just never know. You just never know, right? Old friendships may dissolve before new ones emerge. Or all of a sudden you have an argument and that leads y'all into deeper connection because now y'all communicate in a way that y'all never have before. What the heck? What the helly? Right? Old friendships dissolve. People panic because they mistake movement for loss. But all movement is just movement. All movement is just movement until you as God, as consciousness, come in and breathe life, breathe meaning into that circumstance. Right? Because the bridge, the unfolding of life has never been about preserving the old. That old version of them that, doesn't respect you and, doesn't answer your phone. You're not trying to hold on to them anyway. Right? You're not trying to hold on to that version of them anyway. Let them go. That's not who you wanted. You ain't even want them. Let them go. Why are you holding on to a version of them that you don't want, that you don't prefer? That's not your choice. Right? The bridge is not about preserving the old. The bridge is about revealing the true, not the new, but the true. This is what the bridge is for. Not preserving the old, but revealing the true. When identity changes, reality reorganizes because it is expressing what has been recognized. So the next time circumstances begin shifting in any way, the next time life seems to throw you a curveball in any kind of way, it could be, not getting that text back. It could be that job that you thought you were going to get, not hitting you back for 2 days. I remember when I was coming to the law, right? I had this is one of my success stories. I know I kind of hesitate with giving y'all success stories, but one of the things that I wanted to work at Apple. Right? I worked at Apple in tech for a little while, and did some work for them. But I had made a decision. I was like, yeah, I'm going to work for Apple. And then I got this interview with them, and I just knew it was going to work out. Just knew. All right. But went through the interview, did so well. At that time, I was working on it in a different company. I did so well, and never heard back from them. Okay, never heard back from them until, right, all of a sudden, I'm still working at this other company, and then they just let me go. One day they let me go. Well, there were some issues that I had with the supervisor there, but they let me go. And the day after they let me go, all of a sudden Apple called me back and they said, you know what? We interviewed you before, but we created this new job that we think is much better for you. The other job would have been a little bit more challenging for me, and I wasn't that excited about it, but I just wanted to work at Apple, and I had decided I was just going to work at Apple. And so they hit me back right after I got fired. Now, if you don't know about the Apple interview process, they make you do shit for the interview, right? Like they make you like give presentations and like do coding tests and things like that. Like it's not like regular companies. Apple and Amazon both do that. So they gave me this hard ass task for like a week. And I was like, damn, there's no way that I would have actually been able to do this task if I still had that last job. So of course I spent a week doing other interviews, but knowing this one was mine, and did really well in the interview. I thought they were going to hire me on the spot. They didn't, but I just stayed in knowing that they would, and they ended up hiring me a couple of days later. But here's the thing, right? That job, talking to them later, was created specifically for me because of some of the experience that I had stated I had in the initial interview. So even though that first job wasn't a match, simply because I knew I was going to work there, everything just unfolded in a way that I couldn't predict. Now, I could have took the first one and been like, fuck. And I got it. The first interview was actually through a contract agency. The second one was direct. So the first time, I could have just said, damn, I didn't get it. Because even when I hit up the contract company later on, they were like, yeah, we don't have any other jobs available for them right now. It's cool. And I was like, all right, cool. Well, I'm still going to work there. So you just never know how things are going to unfold. That them saying, even though, this is the thing that y'all have to get through your heads. And I'm constantly trying to beat this in your minds. And it's like, Well, I decided that I had the job, and then I got the interview, and they didn't hire me. And I'm like, it's not over. It's not over. You don't know what can happen. You don't know if somebody's going to drop out of that job. You don't know if they were so impressed they can create another position for you. You don't know shit. But you are standing in the middle of infinity and declaring that you know more than God. Even though the desire, you didn't even choose the desire. It was given to you. This is the thing that we refuse to understand. We refuse to break up our absolute marriage, our absolute dependence on linear time and certainty and our assumption of how things should look. Well, I said that they loved me, but they didn't text back. So what? So what? Well, they said they loved me and they came back a little bit, but I'm just not getting the version I wanted, and they're doing this. So what? Leave them then. If you can't deal with it, leave them. If you can deal with it, sit in there and know who you are. You have the job. It's already yours. But you cannot sit here and ask me, why is this going wrong? When you are literally in the middle of the unfolding, making an absolute declaration to me, it's going wrong. But I just don't understand why. Because you're standing so rooted in the truth that because one person told you no at this job, that all of a sudden they can't share the video or they can't share the notes with somebody else. And that person says, whoa, 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 they might not have fit for that, but we got them for this. And the job is the exact same. You might say, well, I wanted that job. They could create a duplicate of that job in another department for more fucking money. You don't know shit. It ain't over until you decide it's over. And so you cannot tell me, oh, I've been in the state for a day, for a week, for a month. I don't care about the last 3 months. I don't care. I don't give a shit about the last 6 months. I only care about right now because it's all that matters. The last 6 months are canceled out. They're canceled out. They're irrelevant. They don't matter. They're not creating anything anymore. The only person, the only version of you with any kind of creative power in your reality is this one right here, standing in this holy moment and declaring that it's over, but saying, I wish that I had got it. And well, then get it. Then get the shit. Then get the shit. If you've got faith, then get the shit. You know, sometimes I got to get a little rough with y'all because some of y'all act like you've never completed anything in your life. Like you've never went through some adversity. Like you ain't never had to cut a motherfucker off because they weren't acting right, knowing that they would come back. Like you've never had to put in a job application and know the nature of job applications. Like you've never had to start something and complete it and understand that in the unfolding of it, it might not look right. Isn't that life? But all of a sudden, when it comes to this manifesting, oh, I want, to be this successful business person. It's been 3 days. It's been 3 days. Get your ass up and sit in your identity and actually do what you're supposed to do. Do what you are supposed to do. Okay, so let's go a little bit further. When identity changes, reality reorganizes because it is expressing what has been recognized. So the next time circumstances begin shifting, don't immediately ask, what am I doing wrong? Ask a different question. What is life making room for now? Because once recognition has occurred, the bridge is not trying to convince you. Oh my God. Oh my goodness. When recognition has occurred, when you know who you are, the bridge it's not trying to convince you. It never has been trying to convince you either. I say no longer. It never has been trying to convince you. It's just introducing you to what has always belonged to you. And how does it do that? In some kind of sequence. A short sequence, long sequence, I don't care. For the point of this discussion, it doesn't matter. It's guaranteed. It's guaranteed. Your only job is recognition of that truth within you. So part 19, movement does not create reality. There is a trap that almost everybody falls into. Once they recognize a desire, they immediately begin asking what? What should I do? What should I do? So what happens when we start asking, what should I do? Our attention goes from being the person who is already recognized and already is to what? To doing. From being to doing. Now, there's nothing wrong with action, right? Action is beautiful. Action is sacred. Action is how consciousness dances, but action is not the author. Action isn't the author. It's a vehicle for identity for sure. In the same way that an affirmation is a vehicle for identity for sure. But all of those things are downstream. Imagine an apple tree. Does the tree struggle to produce apples? Does it wake up every morning wondering if it should try harder? No. The apples are not the cause of the apple tree. They are the expression of it. Likewise, your actions are not creating your identity. They are revealing it. Oh my gosh. Oh my goodness, right? This is why two people can perform the exact same actions and produce completely different experiences. One person starts a business from fear. The other starts the same business from overflow. Externally, the movements appear absolutely identical, right? Internally, they are worlds apart. One is trying to become successful. The other is expressing the success that they are. One dates because they fear being alone. The other dates because love is overflowing from within them because they recognize that, just having the desire is the fulfillment, is the promise, is the guarantee. One saves money because they fear poverty. The other invests and saves because abundance has become natural. The action is never the creative force. It's never the creative force. Identity breathes through action. This is why forcing yourself into endless techniques eventually becomes absolutely exhausting, because the body can imitate an identity, but only consciousness can embody one. So what are we going to go? What question are we going to ask, right? So instead of us saying, what should we do? What's a better question? Is it showing? Oh, damn, it's already showing. All right. If instead of asking, what should I do? What should we be asking instead? What should we be asking instead? If I truly knew who I am, what would naturally express itself? Do you feel the difference between that? Well, what should I do if I'm love? No, if you truly knew that you were love, then what would be the natural expression of that? And then also, you got to know that, we love ourselves as well, right? But what would be the natural expression of that? Sometimes the natural expression of love is telling somebody to get away, all right? So a practical exercise. I want you to think about the desire that you have right now. Nice little practical exercise. Nice little practical exercise. All right? Think about one desire you have right now. Now imagine these two scenarios as vividly as you can, all right? Scenario one. Tomorrow, okay, you have this desire for this car, this person. Tomorrow, your circumstances move exactly the way you want. Tomorrow is the day for you. You receive the text, even though manifesting a text is kind of pathetic, but hey, it's all good. It's all good. It's all good. Baby steps, right? You receive the text. They confess their love. The money arrives. The opportunity just appears. Now, I want you to ask yourself this question, right? Imagine that happened. Did that event create your identity? Or did it introduce you to the identity you had already decided to be? Did that event create your identity? Or did it simply introduce you to the identity you had already decided to be? Well, of course. It's simply introducing you to an identity that you've already decided to be, right? So it means nothing without you anyway. It means nothing without you anyway. Let's go to the second. Let's imagine the opposite, right? Timeline B. You have your desire, right? Now nothing changes. Nothing changes. No text. No money. No visible movement. Now let's ask ourselves again. Has your identity changed? Because nothing is visible out there. Has your identity actually changed? If the answer is yes, if you really are honest with yourself, okay, and the answer is yes, then what have you actually done here? You've made movement your creator, right? You've made what shows up out there your God, your source, okay? You've made it your source. If your answer is no, that your identity has not changed, then now you are understanding what it means to live as source. What does it actually mean to live as source? Anybody want to give an answer? What does it actually mean to be source? There's a hell of a delay on the YouTube comments, so I'm going to give y'all a drink or two, and then I'm going to start talking and assume somebody said the right answer. Oh, it's great. Yeah, good job. Hell yeah. Absolutely. That one too. Yeah. What it means to be source is you are the only one that assigns any kind of meaning or, yes, just use that. You're the only one who assigns meaning to reality. Okay? You're the only one who can say a circumstance means this, an emotion means this, a feeling means this, a thought means this, and ultimately you're the only one that says what you are. This is what it means to be source. It means I am the one who gives life meaning in every single way, right? So even if I said, right, oh, source means I'm all that there is, then I would have to ask you another question. I would say, okay, what does that mean? The question does come up. It says, well, should I just say that I'm in this relationship, or should I just say that I'm source? Like, will that do the same thing? Will that do the same thing? Do you hear the ridiculousness in that? As if I am source is the same thing as saying abracadabra. Right? I'm not an Etsy witch, right? I'm not here selling fucking magic tricks. I'm not here to entertain y'all with magic tricks, all right? I'm introducing you to what's within you, okay? So now, when we say shit like, I am source, I would ask you, okay, when you say I am source, what are you saying? Like, what does that actually mean to you? Knowing yourself as source is not as important as knowing what I am source means to you. Because I can tell you what it means to me, but what does it mean to you? Because just saying I'm source doesn't change shit. I'm just saying words. It's no different than me saying I am broke. It's impossible. Right? It's no different than me saying any kind of, the word is not important. You feel me? It's the meaning behind that word. It's the meaning behind the word. It's what I accept as true. And here's another thing. Do you even need to use words to express what is true, to know what is true about you? Of course not. It just is. Okay? It just is. So let's go a little bit further, right? So the mirror exercise, all right? I like this exercise a lot. When we get off of this today, I would like you to just be present, experience your life, and then any time that something happens that you instinctively call movement, it could be a text, an email, it could be a compliment, it could be silence, rejection, a sale, missed opportunity. Before you react and name it anything, just pause for 10 seconds. If you have the luxury, right? Pause for 10 seconds and then ask yourself, say, you know what? What story am I about to tell about this? Just ask yourself that. What story am I about to tell about this? And then ask a second question. Say, if I already knew my desire was guaranteed, how would I interpret this instead? When you begin to practically use these exercises to walk through life, and I know I added the practical exercises at the end because, it's more so a treat. Like if you stay this long, you can have the practical exercises, all right? So ask yourself these questions, and it's going to get you in the habit of walking through life. And instead of just attaching meaning, you train yourself to really say, okay, look, this happened, but if I knew my desire was guaranteed, then how would I actually react? Then what meaning would I give it? How would I interpret it? That is a game changer, because now you go from reacting to recognition. You go from being a victim of circumstance to the author of reality. This is a powerful change. And this is a change. This is something that changes everything. It changes everything. Okay? So what we've got to notice is that when these events show up, when these thoughts, when these circumstances, when these emotions show up, whatever the case may be, they never force a meaning on you. You supply the meaning. That's the exercise. We're not trying to change events, right? Changing events, that naturally happens as a recognition of who we are, right? But what we're doing is we are watching ourselves. We are allowing ourselves to become the source of meaning, to know who we are as source. Because then what the next step is you're going to start to realize that, hold up, all these things. Some of y'all will be like, oh, I had this big breakthrough and I had all this movement. The fuck does that even mean? Right? Movement has no meaning until consciousness interprets it. Like things looking like they're going right or things looking like they're going wrong means nothing. It means nothing. Things can look like they are going right and you will refuse to still recognize who you are, and things don't fucking work out. Or it can look like they're going opposite and you recognize who you are and everything works out. Movement has no meaning. Good movement, bad movement, it doesn't mean anything. It's just you attaching a definition to a set of sequences, a set of moments within reality. Right? The movement means nothing. So this exercise, when you start pausing and be like, okay, if I knew it was guaranteed, what would I actually interpret this as? Well, now I see that movement has no meaning. I have always been the author. I've always been the one saying that this movement is good or bad. It's always been me. Okay? Beautiful. Part 20. So now recognition is instant. I think this part is actually beautiful. I love the way we end this, right? One of the other biggest misunderstandings is the belief that becoming takes time. Right? Really try to hear me out on this. I know this has been long. Right, but hear me out on this one, all right? Identity has never required time. Recognition has never required time. Think about learning someone's name. At first, they're a stranger. Then they introduce themselves. In one instant, they become known. Nothing physical changed, but recognition did. Think about reading a book. There is one sentence that suddenly changes everything. You never see the world the same again. The sentence doesn't slowly transform you. Recognition happened in an instant. The implications unfolded under time. The implications unfolded over time. I said under time. All right? This is exactly how identity works. There is a moment, and sometimes we're anticipating fireworks. We're anticipating fireworks with this moment of recognition. But there is a moment, and sometimes it can be so quiet that you miss it. It's when you stop negotiating with yourself. It's when something inside of you just says, you know what? Of course I'm it, right? It's when you're no longer, I'm hoping or trying or maybe, but just of course. It's just recognition. And why recognition seems so simple, seems so quiet, because it's literally the natural state of simply looking at the desire, right? Because the desire is simply what? It's awareness of a possibility. It's a guarantee, right? It's a reality that has always been there, just making itself known to you, right? What makes it complex and loud is battling the thoughts makes it loud. Battling the thoughts that says it's not you, it's not here. The emotions that say it's not here. Trying to fight through the circumstances, that's what makes it loud. But recognition is quiet and it's instant. It's just there it is. This is me. That's recognition. Okay? So everything after that is simply life catching up to what consciousness has already accepted. This is why I often say manifestation may appear gradual, but recognition never is. Recognition is instant. All right? So now, let's go through this letter. All right. There is a question that follows almost every spiritual teaching. It may be the most common question ever asked, but how do I believe this? I want you to sit with this. Sit with that question of how do I believe this? And don't answer it yet. Okay? Actually listen to the question itself. How do I believe this? Notice what has already been assumed before the question is even finished. It assumes truth is something that must be manufactured. How do I believe this assumes that my belief, building my belief up, is what creates truth. It assumes that certainty is something that must be earned. How can I earn this gift that God, that consciousness has given me? It assumes that recognition comes after belief, but we already debunked that in the beginning, right? Recognition is instant. Recognition happens before any other conclusions. You have to recognize it before the mind can even come in and tell a story about it, right? But what if every one of those assumptions is backwards? Let us investigate together. Hey, let's investigate. Because sometimes the question itself is the illusion. We always talk about this. The question always contains the answer. It always contains the answer. Tell me, sit and think about this. How do you believe your own name? How do you believe your own name? Think about it. How do you believe your own name? Have you ever sat in your room repeating your name hundreds of times, hoping one day it would finally feel true? Have you ever did that? No. Okay. Of course not. But why not? Why not is the answer, or the question. It's because you recognize your name, right? It's because you recognize your name. That's interesting. You don't believe your name. You recognize your name. You don't believe your name. You recognize your name. Belief never entered the equation. Let's go deeper. Imagine you're walking through an airport. Thousands of strangers. Then someone across the terminal calls your name. Immediately your head turns. What happened? What happened? Immediately your head turns. Did you stop to weigh the evidence? Did you analyze whether it was logical? Did you begin affirming? That really is my name. No. Recognition happened before thought had the opportunity to participate, right? Now ask yourself something else. If recognition can happen without belief, stay with your boy. If recognition can happen without belief, why have we spent our entire lives trying to believe what only needed to be recognized? All right, I'm going to slow down because this part is extremely important. I feel like I cooked here. All right. Recognition happens before thought had the opportunity to participate. This is going back to what we were first talking about, right? The desire shows up with an awareness. You recognize it. There it is. It's done. It's guaranteed in that moment. After the recognition, what comes in? I'm not it. What do I have to do? What do I have to become? How do I have to affirm, right? Think about this. You can't even try to believe if you haven't already recognized it. All right. So if recognition can happen without belief, why have we spent our entire lives trying to believe what only needed to be recognized? Maybe we've confused two completely different movements of consciousness. Belief says, I'm trying to become convinced. Recognition says, I already know this. Belief feels like construction. You're building up belief. Sometimes it feels like it gets knocked down with doubt. Recognition feels like remembering. I recognize that, the desire is mine. This is just a possibility being presented towards me. This is a truth that's always existed. This is a guarantee. My desire is a guarantee. I recognize that belief feels like construction. Recognition feels like remembering. Belief reaches. Recognition notices. Belief searches. Recognition sees. Do you see the difference? One is effort and the other is vision. Let's go deeper. Suppose I walked into your childhood home. I point to a photograph on the wall. Immediately you say, that's my grandmother. How? How did you know that? Did you examine every facial feature? Did you compare eye color? Did you study the bone structure? Nah, you recognized her instantly. Now imagine I ask, but how do you believe that's your grandmother? How do you believe that's your grandmother? The question suddenly sounds crazy. Why? Because recognition made belief unnecessary. Recognition makes belief absolutely unnecessary. Acceptance of truth makes belief unnecessary. The moment something is recognized, belief has already been transcended. So now we got another question. When did we decide identity works differently? Why do we assume we must believe we are worthy? Believe we are loved? Believe we are abundant? Believe we are chosen? Why are we asking belief to perform a task that recognition has always performed effortlessly? Maybe, just maybe. The problem has never been that you couldn't believe. Maybe the problem is that you stopped trusting recognition. Think about your desire. The moment it appeared, what happened? Did someone teach you to want it? Did someone hand it to you? Or did something within you simply whisper there? Where did that whisper come from? More importantly, how did you recognize what you wanted if consciousness had never encountered it? How did you recognize what you wanted if consciousness had never encountered it? Can you recognize a color you've never seen? Can you long for an experience that has absolutely no representation within awareness? Think carefully. Think about that. Recognition always precedes desire, not the other way around. You desired it because consciousness recognized it. Then thought arrived. And thought asked its favorite question. What's the question that thought asked? Yes, but is it real? That's the tragedy right there. Recognition had already completed its work. Thought simply refused to trust it. This changes everything, because now, how do I believe I'm already loved? That question becomes irrelevant. It dissolves. Maybe you don't. Maybe love was recognized long before you started asking for evidence. Maybe that's why the desire appeared at all. The same is true for abundance, for purpose, for peace, for freedom. Every desire begins with recognition. The mind just mistakes recognition for absence. It says, if I can see it, it must mean I don't have it. Really? When you recognize your mother, does recognition mean she isn't there? When you recognize your own face in a mirror, does recognition create your face? No, recognition never creates, recognition reveals. Okay? Stay with your boy. If recognition reveals, then what exactly have we been trying to believe? If recognition reveals truth, then what are we trying to believe? Recognition has already revealed the truth. What are we trying to believe? Perhaps belief has become an attempt to recreate something consciousness has already revealed. It's like standing in front of the sunrise saying, I just need to believe the sun exists. The sun isn't waiting for belief. It's waiting to be seen. Perhaps that's why scripture speaks so often of eyes opening, of seeing, of awakening. Not because truth is absent, but because recognition had been forgotten. Maybe enlightenment isn't becoming someone new. Maybe it's remembering someone ancient, someone divine, someone that's been there the whole time. Maybe salvation isn't receiving something from God. Maybe it's recognizing what God has always been expressing as you. So perhaps the better question isn't, how do I believe this? Perhaps the real question is, why have I spent my entire life asking thought to approve what consciousness recognized the moment the desire first appeared? Because thought always asks for evidence. Recognition never has. Thought waits to be convinced. Recognition simply says, I know. And maybe, just maybe, that knowing, that recognition has been the voice of God within you all along. Okay? That's a powerful statement. That recognition has been the voice of God all along. I know we still dropping gems. Think about how quietly God speaks throughout Scripture. Rarely with force, rarely with argument. Speaks, right? Speaks. Speaks is the key word. More often, and rarely, not all the time, but rarely, all right? More often, he asks what? Where are you? He whispers to Elijah, right? Not in the wind, not in the earthquake, not in the fire, but in the stillness. He whispers to Elijah in the stillness. Why? Because truth doesn't need to compete for your attention. It simply is. It simply remains. The deepest knowing you've ever experienced has never shouted over your fear. Think about that, process that, sit with that. The deepest knowing you've ever experienced about anything has never tried to compete or announce or yell itself over fear. It never tried to win a debate with your thoughts. It has simply been there, patiently waiting beneath every doubt, every emotion, every circumstance. Long before your mind began constructing arguments for why something could or could not happen, there was already a recognition that needed no explanation. That recognition did not arrive from the world. It didn't come from evidence. It did not ask permission from logic. It simply knew. What if that knowing was never your imagination? What if that knowing, what if that recognition is the voice of God expressing himself as your own deepest awareness? What if your recognition of desire is God speaking as you? What if? That would mean that you're not trying to hear a distant God speaking from somewhere beyond the clouds. You are learning to distinguish his voice. This is what this is the tipping point of the lecture. Okay? This is where the lecture comes to a head right here. What is recognition? You're not trying to hear God more clearly. You are learning to distinguish the voice of God, the recognition within you, from the endless commentary of the mind. The mind speaks in questions. What if I'm wrong? What if it doesn't happen? What if I'm not enough? But God's voice never begins with fear, because fear has never belonged to God. God's voice speaks as recognition. It says, this is yours. This is who you are. Come home. It doesn't argue, because truth has nothing to defend. It doesn't panic, because eternity has nothing to lose. Every genuine desire, every moment of profound peace, every instant where something within you whispers, yes, this is it, may be nothing less than God recognizing himself through you. We hear the voice of God every day, then mistake it for wishful thinking, because it arrives as our own knowing rather than someone else's voice. Isn't that a tragedy? It's an absolute tragedy. We hear the voice of God every day and then mistake it for wishful thinking. Can't be that easy. Can't be just that. Gotta be more steps and processes to it. We hear the voice of God every day, then mistake it for wishful thinking, because it arrives as our own knowing instead of someone else's voice. Because we want to hear it from a coach, from a book, from a podcast, from the church, from somebody else, from the market, from whatever. And we refuse the voice of God within us every day. Okay? Next part 21. The desire never needed faith, right? So we just talked about this. This is a beautiful truth. People will also ask, how do I have more faith? How do you have more faith, right? As if faith is something they must manufacture. But let's look more carefully. Did your desire ask permission before it appeared? Did it wait until you became spiritually mature? Did it first check whether you had enough belief? Nah, it just arrived, almost as though it already knew. Have you ever considered that your desire has never doubted itself? Only the separate self, only the mind has, right? The desire didn't wonder if it belonged to you. The desire came because it already did. It does not wonder if it belongs to you. It shows up because it does belong to you. It's just the truth, right? The separate self, the mind, the ego questions it. But the desire never said, I hope we become one. The desire says what? We already are. Faith, then, is not convincing yourself that something impossible might happen. That's not what faith is. It's not trying to convince yourself that something impossible would happen. It's not trying to manufacture something, right? Faith is what? It's relaxing into what recognition has already revealed. I see it. I recognize it. It is the truth. It is guaranteed. This is faith. It is a relaxation into truth. It's not trying to force some kind of hope or convince yourself that you can believe that something impossible might happen. It is simply relaxing into the recognition or the truth of your recognition, right? It is trusting the intelligence that introduced the desire in the first place. If infinite consciousness was wise enough to reveal it, perhaps it is also wise enough to express it. Part 22. What if you did absolutely nothing? What if you did absolutely nothing? All right. Now, tomorrow morning, what if you didn't affirm? What if you never visualized? What if you never scripted? What if you never checked for signs? What if you never looked for movement? What if you actually just simply lived? Imagine that. Imagine just simply living. Would your desires still belong to you if you did this? If you just lived, would your desires still belong to you? God damn, that was good. God damn, that was good. Damn, it was good, right? Would your desires still belong to you? If your answer is no, then the techniques have become God, right? The techniques have become God, right? You've decided that methods create reality, but methods don't create anything, right? As we've talked about, identity does. Now, does this mean don't affirm? No. It doesn't mean don't affirm or don't visualize or don't pray or don't meditate. If you want to do these things are beautiful expressions of who you already know yourself to be. But if you're using them trying to think that the power is in the method, right, now they become negotiations. Affirm because you love remembering, not because you're trying to force reality to listen. Visualize because it is beautiful to visit the home you've remembered, not because you're attempting to convince life to build it. Pray because communion is joyful, not because God forgot you. Every practice becomes sacred when it stops being an attempt to earn what was freely given. And now 23, last part, right? The death of the seeker. Eventually, something remarkable begins to happen. Okay, the questions disappear. And it's not because you've answered every mystery, because the one asking them begins to dissolve. You stop wondering, when will it happen? You stop asking, what does this circumstance mean? You stop obsessing over every thought, every emotion, every sign, every delay, because you've stopped asking reality who you are. You finally understand reality has never had that authority. It never created you. It only reflected the identity you entertain. The seeker dies when recognition becomes enough. Not because you found the destination, because you've realized you're never separate from it, right? It's this beautiful, profound realization that you've got to stop pretending that you are not the person that God is telling you that you are. You've got to stop pretending that you are not the person that God is telling you you are. Your desires are there for a reason. Trust them. You recognize them for a reason. Trust it. Trust it, right? So as we come to the end of this journey, I want to leave you with one final truth. Perhaps the greatest miracle is not the manifestation itself. Maybe the miracle isn't the money or the relationship or the healing or the success. Those are beautiful, but they're not the miracle. The miracle is that infinite consciousness could become aware of one of its own eternal possibilities through the experience called you. The miracle is recognition. Because once recognition has occurred, everything else unfolds naturally. Your desire didn't arrive because life is teasing you. It did not arrive to test your discipline. It didn't arrive to measure your worthiness. It arrived because reality has already told you. It has already whispered yes. Before you ever affirmed, yes. Before you ever believed, yes. Before you ever doubted, yes. Before you ever cried, yes. Before you ever wondered if it was impossible or possible, yes. Your desire is not asking you to create it. It's not asking you to create it through faith, through affirmations, through embodiment, through whatever the case may be. It is simply asking to be remembered, to be recognized. Your desire is the compass leading you home to the truth of who you are. It is your identity. Your desire is your identity. It is the truth about you. Okay? So, perhaps, right? And one thing that I do want to highlight before I jump into this last part is that sometimes understanding all this, because I walked through a lot today, right? Did a lot of shit. This honestly could have been like 5, 6, 7 discussions. So sometimes hearing information kind of can calm the mind. Sometimes it just leads to more questions. All of this can literally be bypassed by you just knowing that your desire is guaranteed. Right? All of that can literally be bypassed by you knowing that your desire is guaranteed. But sometimes it does help to understand the mechanism of how, reality or whatever works, so you can ease your mind. But at what point does continuously asking, like, what does this mean? How does this work? How does this work? Just become another way to delay yourself from actually accepting that you already have it? What if instead of trying to figure out if you were doing something wrong, you actually spent more time deciding and knowing and recognizing that you were already the person you desired to be? Because Source already has blessed you, has trusted you enough with that desire. You're already it. You're already it. Okay? You're already it. So perhaps this entire lecture has been unnecessary. Okay? Not necessarily because it isn't true, but because if your desire is guaranteed, what else is there to solve? Sit with that. How much of your spiritual journey has been spent trying to understand how something will happen? How much of your manifestation journey has been spent trying to figure out how something will happen? How much time have you spent studying methods, watching videos, reading books, analyzing your thoughts, monitoring emotions, interpreting circumstances, all because somewhere within you believed your desire was still uncertain? If it were absolutely guaranteed, would you still need another technique? Would you still need another sign? Another confirmation? Another answer? Probably not. You would simply live. If your desire was absolutely guaranteed, what would you be doing? And if you're not doing that, then you haven't accepted that it's guaranteed. Point blank, period. Argue with your mama. Argue with your mama. If I asked you, like, hey, look, would you be asking this if you knew your desire is guaranteed? You're like, no. Then I guess you haven't accepted that. Well, hey, actually, I just want to know. Nah. If it were absolutely guaranteed, would you still need another technique? It's okay to ask yourself these honest questions, guys. My family, it is okay to ask yourself these honest questions. Okay? Would you still need another sign, another confirmation, another answer? Probably not. You would simply live. Maybe that is why children move through life with such freedom. They don't spend every moment wondering whether tomorrow is allowed to arrive. They simply know it will. What if your desire deserves that same certainty? Not because you've mastered the mechanics, not because you finally become spiritual enough, but because recognition was never a negotiation. Think about what we have uncovered together and what we have walked through today. Desire is not lack. Desire is recognition. Recognition is not belief. Recognition is remembrance of truth. Time is not deciding your future. Time is introducing you to what eternity has already completed. Circumstances are not creating your identity. They're reflecting the identity you continue to recognize. Thoughts are not speaking the truth. They are asking whether you remember it. Everything returns to one astonishing realization. Nothing has ever been asking whether your desire is possible. The only question has been whether you will continue asking reality to introduce you to something consciousness has already recognized. And perhaps that's why the journey eventually becomes so simple. Not easy, but simple. You stop trying to earn what was given. You stop trying to force what is already unfolding. You stop trying to convince yourself of what your deepest awareness has known from the very beginning. The seeking ends because the question ends. Let me say that again. The seeking ends because the question ends. The question ends because separation ends. And separation ends because recognition has finally become enough. So maybe your desire was never the destination. Maybe it was God's way of introducing you to yourself. Maybe every longing you've ever experienced has been eternity tapping you on the shoulder saying, look again. Remember again. Come home again. And if that's true, then the greatest gift was never the relationship. It was never the wealth, never the healing, never the success. The greatest gift was discovering that you were never waiting for life to choose you. Life had already said yes, long before you understood why, long before you believed, long before you could explain it. There has only ever been one answer, yes. Not someday, not after enough healing, not after enough affirmations, not after enough surrender, but now. Because truth doesn't become true when time agrees with it. Truth simply waits to be recognized. So leave this lecture with one realization that closes every door the mind keeps trying to reopen. When doubt asks, but what if it never happens? Smile. Because that question no longer belongs to you. Your desire is not a possibility. It is not a probability. It is not a reward. It is not a test. It is recognition. And recognition does not need permission to become true. It only needs to be remembered. So walk forward in peace, not because you figured everything out, not because you'll never experience another thought, emotion, or circumstance, but because beneath all of it, you now know what you could never unknow. The desire was never asking to be earned. The desire was never asking to be created. The desire was never asking to become possible, right? The desire is guaranteed. The desire is guaranteed. The desire is guaranteed. Say it 3 times and click your heels together and your SP will text you. Your desire is guaranteed, right? I am that I am, no matter what. No matter what. All right. I yapped for 3 hours and 34 minutes. It's probably been the longest lecture I've ever done. It's definitely been the longest lecture I've ever done. Yeah, I might have to rethink doing one like this again. But hey, I love y'all. I appreciate y'all's time. I appreciate y'all's questions and energy and just y'all being here, right? Trust and hope and intend that you got something from this. I know this is a lot to digest, and there were a lot of different paths on here, but hopefully this helps. I also made a little map in the Discord, and that map, let me pull it up. That map it actually has kind of an outline of all the things that we talked through in different ways. Let me find it. Here it is. right? The complete map of desire. Okay, the complete map of desire. Each of these paths, right? Each of these rows is simply a different path. So we have the recognition path, right? The path of awareness and alignment, right? Remembering who you are. We have a purification path. We have the faith path, the action path, the allowing path, the knowing path. None of these are wrong, right? None of these are wrong, but they're just different. They're just different paths, right? And it starts with the desire appearing, okay, and then going through. We also have the knowing path, which I highlighted as the direct path, right? All paths are valid. They're all you. Your desire is guaranteed. We talked about a lot of these paths in different ways, but this just organizes them all in one way that allows you to kind of, see these things clearly, right? Appreciate you, Kara. Thank you. Thank you. Appreciate y'all, man. Thank you so much. Right. So this just helps, right? It's just is a helpful way to kind of visualize how you might be in different places within the journey, right? And then all of it, remember, all of it leads back to the ultimate truth, right? You could choose any path or no path at all. You could choose any path or no path at all. The moment you know with certainty that your desire is guaranteed, you are already home, right? And all of these paths lead to what? They lead to what you want, what you all want, what you all are craving for, right? The physical manifestation. Your desire expresses in the physical world, okay? Cool, cool. All right, my beautiful guys and goddesses. Your boy probably ain't finna talk again for a good amount of time. Probably gonna chill for a little while, but if you haven't joined the Discord, join it. It's a link in the bio. You can do that. And of course, this replay will be available on YouTube. Y'all have a beautiful Sunday, and we shall probably talk again tomorrow. Love you.